Let's see. Is it working? Is it on? I think it's on. Anyway.
Do you want to do a tester?
No, the buttons are going. Like, the numbers are going.
Oh, that is working.
Yeah, it's working.
Easy.
I round up to 50. I'm good with technology.
Your age?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. We were getting ahead of ourselves with all the conversation.
Yep.
I mean, we could jump into that Wilkerson Airlines stuff, or...
Do you do any intros?
I record it.
Separately. Okay.
Yeah, I just record the interest.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be weird if I was like, "Hey, everybody, this is the thing." You know, while you're sitting here.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people. I'm gonna close it.
Yep, I'll close it.
Yeah. It'd be weird if, like, I mean, people do that. I'd feel kind of uncomfortable.
We gotta do it over.
I feel like you need a studio to do that or something.
No, you do. We're not a studio.
I usually just like fade it into the conversation. And then, like, I'll record the I don't know, I call them bumpers, the beginning and the end.
Sure.
But anyway, just so everybody knows, I'm sitting here with Leigh Ramsdell, and we have Ryan Barrett chilling with us. So, if you wonder who the third man is it's Ryan. Leigh, you're here in Portland for a contest.
Yeah, came out here for that USA BMX event.
Out at Newburgh.
Newburgh.
The most non-USA BMX, the most non-contest skate park to have a contest.
Well, it looks like the most fun skate park to have.
No, it does look fun.
It does.
I mean, I know it's fun.
We got to get some laps in at Tiger.
We can.
No, we did.
Oh no, yeah, so we did. I thought we were going to get more.
No.
ODB, you know, Eric, he hit me up. He's like, "Why didn't you call me? I saw you got runs with Leigh. I'm like the same age. I should have been out there, right?" I'm like, "Well, you were at work. You have a family." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't care about that. I'd have came out and run." I was like, "What?" Let's hold off on the Wilkerson stuff because, you know, I'll get shred boned over that. Let's start slow. So, where are you actually from? Like, because I could probably think of like 4 cities I could guess, but I don't really know.
From well, I was born in Hawaii.
Oh shit! Really?
My dad was military.
Okay.
I was there only for 6 months, and then moved back to Maine, where my parents are from, for another 6 months.
Okay.
The rest of my life was pretty much in North Carolina. Real small town called Havelock.
Okay.
And then I didn't really start riding until I was 14.
Okay, so like end of middle school?
Yeah, I was like, I remember I was jumping into bushes. I thought I wanted to be a stuntman.
What made you, like, what kind of got you pulled towards BMX?
I had a BMX bike, and then my friend Michael was like, "Hey, let's go down the street. There's this guy. He has a ramp at the end of the street, and it was like one of those old school 7-foot quarter pipes
where it's like kinked and stuff.
Yeah, like 3 pieces of plywood, and it was just sitting at the end of the street. His name was Greg Bloom, and I saw it, and he goes, "Yeah, he jumps this," but behind it was pine trees.
Yeah.
So I was like, he jumps that into the trees? No concept.
Yeah. What year was that, do you think?
That would have been 84.
Okay.
Yeah.
So perfect timing for the kinked ramp.
Yes, yeah. And like, I was like, I don't understand this, but that is awesome. And then, we came back the next day, and he was riding, and then I was like, oh, I get it. He goes up, and I just started dabbling with it, and then it was weird where you're like, you feel it. You're like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
How much older was that rider than you?
1 year.
Oh, just 1 year?
1 year. But he's been riding, like, since it started. Like, he raced first and then started riding.
So his family, like, had him in it for a while and stuff.
And he knew, like, you could tell by like, he had good style and, you know, could do good airs and stuff. But
did you start going and riding that ramp?
I did. Started going riding quarter pipe, and then I was just this little Grom guy, and they'd be like, "Let's ghost ride your bike." I was like, all right. And I remember one time ghost ride up the quarter pipe. They had a high air pole, and the handlebars went through that.
And it got stuck.
Pole and got stuck. Then they left. I had to get it down myself.
That sounds like the older dude thing to do.
Yeah.
Did the ramp even have a deck?
Yeah, it did. It had like a 4-foot deck.
Oh, okay.
And then they started building the quarter pipe bigger, and I remember they finally did an 8-foot with a real transition.
Yeah, like the one you see more like at AFA contests and stuff.
But he kept adding on to it, so it was wide. It was like it was 16 feet wide.
That's big for back then.
Yeah, you had two quarter pipes, but it was just the end of a dead end street. City didn't care then.
No,
Yeah, and then we just went up there riding, and then I was riding more and more, and you know I was doing more for the first year. I kind of did more flatland.
Yeah.
And I remember I was the flatlander on our little bike shop team.
What was the bike shop called?
Extraordinary Cycles.
Well, that's a good name.
Yeah.
That seems very good for like the mid '80s. Like
it was pretty extraordinary.
It feels like if you walked into that shop,
yeah,
you would see lots of freestyle bikes from the mid '80s.
And the owner lived on that dead end street, so he didn't care that the quarter bike was there.
Oh, nice.
He's like, oh, more kids that ride this will probably come to my shop.
Yeah.
And then I started I'm too impatient, so flatland wasn't necessarily for me.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, how can I get better on ramps? And then this other guy, Eric, told me, just pedal faster, and I did. And I was going from a foot, and I started going 4 feet in that same day. It was like, oh,
that's honestly a big jump. Because you'll explain airs to kids, and you're like, those feet don't come easy.
No, and I just I could do the foot airs, and I just started going faster. And I think he felt a little threatened. He goes, you should probably slow down. And I was like, it just loved it.
What bike were you riding then? What was kind of your first freestyle bike?
A Redline RL20A.
Oh, that's a good one.
See, I had a crappy bike. So, before... I was probably 13 when I saw the guy doing the quarter bike.
Yeah.
I was 14 when I got my first real freestyle bike. I got that RL20A. And then, it's just weird. You get a better bike and it just feels
Well,
better.
and at that time, I think we were talking about it earlier. Even, it's not the RL22, but the Redline bikes, their freestyle bikes, I'm sure their race bikes were too, but their freestyle bikes were so kind of advanced. The GTs and Haros were nice, but it just seemed like they just had a little more just bits and pieces to it. That was a nice bike.
And I was a Redline guy. I really liked RL.
Yes.
I was really, into that, and it's just like, and my friend, Greg, he had a Hutch, but it was nice. He had a nice candy apple red Hutch Trickstar. It's like, you're always drooling on that.
Yeah.
But, and then so we just started riding more, and I just loved it. And we'd always do road trips everywhere, and start eventually going to, little contests at NBL comps.
Yeah, you guys had a lot of NBL comps down there, yeah.
So we did a lot of those, and I just started getting, a little bit better. I was known as kind of the crazy guy.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. But it's okay. My very first contest I ever entered, it was 2 quarter pipes and then a wedge ramp.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't remember the song, but yes, I do. Iron Man Power Slave.
Oh, perfect.
So I had that going, and I cranked up the quarter pipe, and then I was came down, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to jump that wedge ramp. People behind it, too.
Yeah.
And I'm just going, and then everybody scatters, I jump, land back wheel, flip over the handlebars, and then they let me start my run over because I moved my wheel. And I did everything. I was like, I'll save the jump for last.
Yeah.
And I won that contest, but that guy, Eric, got really mad because I did better variations, but he went higher. He didn't do any variations. And I was with my mom, so proud, and he just was like, you shouldn't have won that. He was so mad.
Were you still 14 or were you 15?
I would have been 15 then, I think.
And is he just a tiny bit older?
Yes. But he's kind of, I was like, I just remember looking at the trophy and go, if you want it, you can have it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, that kind of made me be like, I just like riding.
Yeah.
I love riding contests, but I don't care how I place.
Yeah.
I never cared.
Did you and that dude keep riding together?
Yeah. He's a hothead. He just kind of knew that it was, whatever.
Just one of those things.
Yeah. And then eventually it was in 88. No, that wasn't. Yeah. No, it was in 90. Hal Brindley saw me riding at an NBL contest.
Yeah.
And he goes, dude, I totally want to sponsor you. And he's like, so I was like, yeah, I'd love to ride, free clothes. It was cool.
Yeah, and at that time, that would have been to be home cooked.
Yeah, it was to be home.
Yeah.
It was so he sent me a bunch of clothes, and then I sent him a sponsor me tape.
Okay.
I did it really backwards.
So were you still kind of in that time period? Were you kind of just still riding with the same crew for that whole time?
We would go to and I remember that it was a Myrtle Beach contest that I went to, and he saw me at. My ride bailed, and those guys were like, our car's full, but they're towed an open face trailer with only maybe a foot high railing around the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was laying in the back near the hitch. So I just got my sleeping bag and just laid in the back, and there was times when we'd hit bumps, and I'd kind of pop up, and I could see over there, and pop back down, going 55, 60.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-hour drive, too. And then my friend Todd brought all this Everett.
Yeah.
He's got Mad Dog 2020, a bunch of candy type.
That early 90s, late 80s,
And he fed it to one of his friends, and that dude just, like, Greg's driving, puked on Greg, puked on everybody in the car, and then put his window out, and they're laughing because they thought I was getting puked on, but I'm just sitting there and I hear this splatter. It was just hitting their bikes. It never got me, though. They're like, man, you avoided that, and then we made him wash everything off. And
So who was the crew then?
it would have been me, Greg Bloom, who I associate Greg with being my star. He's the guy that I saw that was like...
That's the dude that had the quarter pipe.
Yes.
Yes.
And then that one, it was Todd Everett. I can't remember the guy who threw up everywhere. And then Matt Shear. When we would just go to these contests, and that's where Hal saw me.
And did those dudes stay riding for quite some time?
Greg still rides.
Oh, nice.
Greg has these trails in North Carolina. He helps maintain and everything. Yeah, and Matt doesn't too much, but most of the guys don't.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's a long time. I mean,
yeah, people.
Not everybody's crazy and psycho.
It's always been like I wanted to be a pro rider.
Yeah.
And it's that's just what I want to do. I was like, I want to be able to ride my bike for a living, even though, and it's I had all these dreams like, oh, it'd just be so cool to be like RL and Ron and those guys, and then. Yeah, once that guy Hal. When Hal's like, "Oh, do you want to ride for 2B?" and I just couldn't believe it. And just free shirts felt like I just won the.
Well,
lottery.
2B. I mean, when I was in high school, I mean, I was about as far away as you could get from you guys.
Yeah,
I sweated 2B shirts.
That's so crazy. I love that.
Like I really wanted the men with 20 inch shirt, and then my mom looked at it. How they'd have, and she was like. I don't think we're getting that one. We're not getting...
Yeah.
You can get the one with the big 2B square.
Yeah.
But she goes, I don't know what that... I just don't have a good feeling about that shirt. So she's like, I don't think school would like that one. I'm like, it's talking about...
20-inch wheels.
Wheels, Mom. Where you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, I sweated 2B. I think I even more sweated 2B, and it's maybe a little bit forward, but not too much. Is when they did the cookbook.
Yeah, the cookbook, because that was right when the magazine died, and Hal
that was right when
something.
Go died. And have you ever seen the 2B cookbook? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
and that was he did it. Because what he did was he's like, I want to do this loyalty based, So he got the mailing address from Trend at the time.
Yeah, that's what I think because I only ordered from Trend.
And he, so basically they sent stuff out, and the deal, or he mailed them out. If you like it, send back a couple bucks.
Yeah.
And quite a few people sent it back, but I just think it was a lot of work, and it just was like, he just couldn't do it.
It was cool because it was going to a dry period, and you kind of, we didn't get BMX Plus. I had a subscription to Go.
Yeah.
I didn't have one to Plus, and we didn't get Pluses in our stores. And then if I did see one, they were starting to make everybody wear the helmets.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I'm not saying don't wear a helmet, but it just seemed very unnatural.
At the time when you were a kid. Yeah,
it just seemed very forced, But when you got the 2B, all of a sudden, I got 2B home cooked zine. I mean, it felt more like a magazine, but it is a zine.
It was.
But it was thick.
It was thick, and we learned that we would tape all our photos on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper.
Yeah.
Bring it to the newspaper, and they would make halftones for us.
Oh.
So that then because you could print them. If you photocopy them, they look like a photo. So
yeah.
You see it in a newspaper.
Yeah, I mean, after I got that,
too,
you and Mike Forney were like two of my new favorite bike. I mean, you're both in the thing a bunch. Mike Forney was like, I swear he had like 10 photos, and then
he did. Because he was a crazy, he had some variations. Jumping,
Yeah, I think at that time in the early '90s, Mike Forney was super sick, and then he's riding Lansdowne, which no one had cement parks anymore. So you'd see that, and you're like, this just seems crazy,
Yeah, it's like Lansdowne's still there.
No, I rode it on a mega tour once,
and it's weird because it's not that great of a park, but it's just iconic.
Yeah.
You make it because we had that concrete park called Swinson Park back in where I lived.
Yeah.
It was just an old school one, and it was like...
Oh, you have clips on that in Baking with Leigh, right?
Leigh.
Yeah. It's like a 6 foot or a 7 foot quarter or something.
Yeah, and nothing was great.
And it was
all
kind of
bumpy.
overgrown and stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, now I'm like, man, I wish it was still around. But
Yeah.
they tore it up and took everything out. But then, why is Kyle Carlson texting me?
Oh man.
Worry about that later.
I'm not going to edit it out. I'm going to leave it in there.
No, you should. We're not going to answer
just-
Kyle Carlson. He can wait.
Well, not to. I'm not trying to cut you off, but like with the 2B thing.
Yeah.
So did your crew kind of join up with Hal's crew then?
No, it was sort of like those guys started getting jobs, and you know, and you could tell that they liked it, but they were sort of riding for fun. I always rode for fun. Don't get me wrong, but I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
You know, like in high school, never had a girlfriend. I felt like I was working on my career.
No, I could kind of. Yeah, I get it.
Like I think I dated one girl for a week.
Yeah.
And but it's just like that's all I cared about. And then I moved up to where Hal lived. He lived in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Okay.
And moved up there, and we just rode.
Like right out of high school?
No, I was 20, turned 21.
Okay.
And then we were just going to a lot of events. He totally would help me out. Be like, man, I don't have money to go to Arizona. We went to Arizona for 2-hip comp, and he
For the Thrasher Land?
yeah, and he paid for that. I paid him back, you know, eventually.
I think
I was working at Dunkin' Donuts at the time. Hence bacon with Leigh.
Oh.
That's where that came from. Because I was the morning baker.
And the Thrasher Land contest, that's one where like Greg Guillot and a few dudes were at and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was remember I had that fiberglass
Full pipe and snake run and
like
stuff.
snake run stuff. And I just couldn't believe that place existed like that.
Yeah.
And that was my first time. I remember when we landed, went out in Arizona. That was my first time out west, and it just smelled different. It smelled dirt, you know. That's all it is.
It smelled deserty.
Yeah, and it was. I just never experienced something like I still can remember that smell. And we stayed. What's his name? Randy Newman. He had a zine too. He was friends with Gons.
Okay.
We stayed with Gons one night.
Yeah.
And then with this guy Randy, we just kind of couch
Yeah.
surfed, you know. And years later, Gons tells me, he goes, "Hey, just letting you know, I snuck in your guys' room and stole a bunch of shirts."
That's when like Gons was riding like Leif, Valen and stuff bunch and stuff back then.
Yeah. And I remember just going to that contest. I started just going to a lot.
Was that the
more
first
places.
big contest you went to?
No, the very first big one I went to was a 2-hip, and it was in D.C. The 2-hip King of Earth, the first one they did.
Yeah.
And that I actually got a photo in Super BMX and Freestyle.
Ooh, I wonder if I have it.
And it's John Byers has one. Me and I was literally only going 2 feet out, but I could do no foot top side, no foot cancan, stretched.
Oh, you think you're Joel Alamo out there?
Giberson, he goes, "Hey, can I shoot a photo of that?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "I'm not going high." He goes, "I'll make it look okay," and he laid down and shot it. And but it just said the caption didn't have our names. It just like John Byers, me, and somebody else said unknown names. Pressing, I was just
John didn't even get his name yet either.
No, we were both up. But John gave me the best advice. Not at that one. We went to another one in Kitchener.
Yeah.
They did.
Oh, the one where Matt did the 900.
Yes, I was there at that one.
Yeah, outside Ontario, Canada.
But because I was a senior in high school when I rode the DC one.
Yeah, and how'd you do in that one?
Didn't qualify.
But it was half pipe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I didn't know anything about pumping. I would just pedal it like a little hamster wheel.
Yeah. Who were the AMs that you rode against? Do you remember?
Mm-mm.
No.
John Byers.
John Byers. Well, that's scary.
It's all a blur, kind of. You know, you're
Yeah.
so nervous, and then we drove all the way to Canada, and on the way there, he's like, "Leigh, look, the first day we get there, don't do any tricks. Don't do a single trick. Just ride the ramp and get used to it." And I was like, "All right," and it helped. And I actually did. I made finals.
Oh wow.
And I'm getting I think 8th place there, and I remember I did a bar hop air, doing pretty good.
No,
then.
I've seen you do bar hops.
Gary Pollock said, he was talking to who had he been talking to? Joe Johnson, I think. He was like, "Dude, hey you, can you do another one of those?" And I was like, "What these guys?" And I did another one, just because I asked. And the magazines came out, and the magazines had me. They thought I was Canadian.
Oh really?
These Canadians, they made it into the finals. Jay Miron, Leigh Ramsdell, and what's the other guy's name? Other vert Canadian guy. I can't remember.
Was it Terminator?
No, when Terminator was there though.
There was a few good. I mean, there were some really gnarly vert Canadians back then. You know.
And then being there, witnessing the 900.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite things.
Can you? I mean, not very. I mean, I haven't really ever talked to too many people that were there.
No, it was like because he was trying and he carved over that channel, which was insane.
Yeah, he almost lands on the channel.
He did almost land on the channel, but he just like huck it, and he.
Did you through the whole contest? Did people know he was going to try to throw one?
I don't remember. I think he tried one and maybe slid out, and then he just did that one, and it was just so perfect. And then it was just the mob, and I was in the stands.
Did you go mob or did you?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that. I wasn't confident enough to mob. But it was cool. But then fast forward, I was also there when he did the no-handed 9.
Oh wow!
And I got to interview him for that for when I was doing the side reporting stuff for ESPN, and that was cool.
That was. I remember watching the no-handed 9 on TV, and like. Kind of letting out a squelch because it didn't, especially I think if you've been riding for a while, where you have this stigma with 900s. When somebody did a no-handed one, like it made me like kind of scream because I didn't think that should be a real thing. Like it hurt my brain for a second.
No, it was like because I thought he was doing a no-handed 5. I was like, oh crap, he's over rotate. Oh no, he just no-handed.
I feel like Matt should have won that X Games.
But he didn't do much after that.
I know.
It's not the way. Like if it was a 2-hip, he would have won.
I need to probably watch the whole contest again.
Yeah. But back to those 2-hip ones were good, and then I started going to more of the bigger, the MBLs and and then the BS ones.
Yeah, because the 2-hip only went on for a little bit longer.
And then I started riding the BS stuff, and then that's when Wilkerson called me. Well, first, James Shepard gave me a...
Well, let's talk about the frame before that, just for the OG race guys that might listen.
Oh, that was...
Who was your first sponsor?
The NBL Grands, Baden Company gave me a frame.
That's so awesome.
And it was so long. It was like a double XL, and I was riding it. And then I remember at the finals, one of the BS ones...
You're riding the Baden Co. at a...
Oh, yeah. I was
Did you keep the stickers on?
Yeah, it was my sponsor.
Dude. I'm just psyched on that.
I did, because that's when I did a 360 half bar spin over the spine.
Yeah.
And, road vert and stuff. And then...
Is this Virginia?
No, this is in Chicago. Scrap.
Oh, one of the gnarly scrap contests.
Climber was there.
Yeah.
And then the first thing he ever said to me goes, "You can ride good, but that's a kooky bike." I don't know how you can ride so good on a kooky bike, is what he said.
Wasn't it a pretty normal race frame? Just a double... Or did it have the weird lower dropouts?
Something was really weird about it.
I can't remember what the bad...
When you're a kid, you don't care.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'll ride a cruiser if you give it to me. But and then shortly after that, Shepard gave me a homeless.
Did you have a Mac or a Soul Bro?
No platform.
So you had the Mac.
Yeah, and that bike, I swear, I don't know how it was built. That was the first time I went over 10 feet. It was in Shimerville. I was going like 11 feet.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, that I could pump that bike really good.
Nice.
And it was, yeah. And then not too much longer after that, though, that's when Ron called me.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a joke.
Did he just call you out of the blue?
Out of the blue. I was living with my friend Greg. We were roommates in his house. And then he goes, "Hey, Leigh, this is Ron Wilkerson." I was like, "Hold on a second." And then I go, Greg, I think Craig's messing with me. We had a friend Craig, and I was like, "I think he's messing with me." And he goes, "No, Craig's somewhere." And I was like, "Fuck, this is Ron."
Yeah. So you're holding like the phone up against you, so he can't hear you.
And I'm like, "Hey, Ron, what's going on?" And he just started saying, "Yeah, I like the way you ride. I don't know if you want to ride for 2-hip and all this." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Shepard just gave me a homeless, but let me call him. I mean, I'd love to." And that was like, because at that time, Ron was like my favorite.
Yeah.
Favorite pro. Just, he was wild, loose,
Did you call James?
I did, yeah. We talked, and he's like, "Oh, no, you should do it." Because it was only a frame deal.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And homeless seemed like it was about to...
it just wasn't... It was kind of almost like a bro type deal.
Yeah.
And then, just started... He sent me the Wilkerson airline, and that was probably one of the most amazing mail days of my life.
Let's talk about it. I mean, that's...
just got the... First one I got was the black one.
Was it the first gen graphics or second? The Aero graphics or the Hazard?
The Aero.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was the Aero graphics. But just like the bash guard, immediately we just went out and started just smashing shit.
The bash guard was so good on that bike.
It's the best bash guard on any. To me, that's.
I think it is. The bully one's really good, except the bullies were weak. But the plastic, everybody loves the plastic.
Yeah.
But it almost makes things too slippery.
Oh, I love throwing sparks.
No, the metal one, yeah. Especially when you grooved it in.
Yep.
I felt like you had way more control on it. Like the plastic, it could get a bit hairy.
Oh yeah, and I remember getting. I think I even wore XL shirts. I don't know why, but I just had my baggy shirt, like 2 hip shirts, you know, and just sitting there in awe, looking at that bike after I put it together. I was like, I used to go to the 2 hip contest. So I'm like,
so yeah, you got that bike. I mean, I would lose. You know, were your friends tripping out? Like,
oh yeah, they couldn't believe it. They're like, you know. It never paid. It was just, but that's how it was back then.
But yeah, the early '90s. I mean, BMX had fallen off a cliff.
Yeah.
But Ron, and Matt soon after, and Rick.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the companies like Standard, Hoffman, Wilkerson Airlines. It's like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal.
It is, and like then so. We didn't do any tours for Wilkerson. It was maybe only a year I was on. We filmed nonstop San Francisco. So that was Wilkerson Airline video.
So you got on and he basically just flew you out to film for the video?
We filmed for the video and did school shows.
Okay.
And we just did a bunch of school shows, did that, and he flew me over to the Worlds. First time I ever went to Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which ones were they?
Well, first we went to that would have been 93 then, I think. So he flew me, we flew into England. Fids, Stuart King.
Yeah. Who was started to become a big deal at that time.
John Taylor.
Yeah.
I think it was like 10 dudes in this van. We just packed it in.
Yeah.
Bikes loaded up, and then we were getting on the ferry to go from England to Belgium.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, wait, we don't have a ticket for Leigh. So they lift up some bikes. I just crammed under this bike spot, and they put blankets and stuff, so they smuggled me into Belgium.
Shut up. Here's the thing. I feel like you could do that stuff back then, but nowadays you get so screwed.
I wasn't even smuggling into Belgium. I showed my passport when we got to Belgium.
Yeah,
it was just to get onto the ferry.
Yeah, so
once we were on the ferry, we got out. We just walked around. It was like a 4-hour ferry ride.
Yeah,
and then got to Fidz just drove the whole way. He was just the driver, and got to Cologne, and then Matt and Jay were there, and that was one of my most memorable mini ramp runs was with Jay. They did a Pennywise Bro Hymn song.
Yeah,
came on. He chugged a beer.
Was that the Coca-Cola ramp?
No, I don't think.
In Cologne?
It was in Cologne, but it wasn't the big 8-footer. No, it wasn't that one. It was normal spine. But he chugged a beer and went out there and just annihilated it. And it was just it was good.
I mean, Jay didn't. I think once Jay started entering contests, he wasn't playing at all.
And then we went, and then the English guys went back to England. I stuck around with those guys, and we went to Amsterdam, and they did a vert contest underneath this bridge.
Yeah, I've seen that ramp. Yeah.
That's also where Ian Morris he put a full face helmet on and tried to backwards rail this 20-something stair rail.
The one where you almost overside backwards. Yeah.
And that was we were just sitting there watching that, and it was unbelievable. And that night, Matt almost got a shot.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Matt's bad jokes. He won the contest. Oh, and Jay and Matt did 540s over under. It was a cool comp, but he won, and he was just carrying 2 big boxes of Heineken around, just giving them to everybody. And this one guy stopped, and he was from there, and he's like. I said something funny, and Matt goes, "Oh, I got a joke. You want to hear a joke?" He's like, "Yes." You talk about that joke, where you say, "You're running through a forest. You're running through a forest," and he's going waving his hands right in front of the guy's face.
Yeah.
He goes, "You keep running as fast as you can, and then you hit a tree."
And you smacked him in the face.
Head. The dude lost it. His eyes just went. He was so jovial, but then he just went, "You do not touch me. I'm going home to my house. I'm going to get a gun and I'm going to shoot you in the face." We're like, let's go. And the dude just walked away. And then we just went the other way. I mean, we never saw him again. But it's he was just so happy that all of a sudden Matt.
I can't even see Matt pissing someone off.
Oh, he didn't mean to. It was I know. It was a real bad joke.
Yeah.
But and then came back, little bit after that, then it turned to Two Hip. And I remember I was in San Francisco, and he was just like, "Hey, I got an idea. We're gonna change this to Two Hip." And I never really explained why.
I've asked Ron about, like, in the podcast I did with Ron, because I originally heard that, and he said it wasn't. I heard when he got divorced with his first wife that she got the name. But then I asked Ron about it, and he just laughed about it. He's like, "No," he goes, "I just like the name Two Hip." And then I thought about Ron more, and I'm like, "Yeah, that makes complete sense."
I think it was. I think I think he loved the legacy that Two Hip was.
But I think all of us who are Wilkerson fanboys, like, to me, Wilkerson Airlines is one of the sickest BMX.
Oh, I loved it. I wish he would have kept that. I was a little bummed when it was Two Hip. I mean, I love Two Hip, but and then it became Two Hip, and then we did our first Two Hip tour, which was pretty much all around it was 3 months.
And
all around
that's when I met you.
Yeah. All around the country. It was Siggety and Sean Peters.
Yeah.
We just went.
And Ron once in a while, right?
Right. Ron, it was this guy John who worked with him. He was mostly there, and then Ron every once in a while would come on.
Yeah.
Remember one time, and he goes, "I got a rule. If you're driving, you run out of gas, you have to pedal the bike to the gas station." I'm like, "Oh, fair enough." And we're in the middle of New Mexico, nothing around. Ron's driving, runs out of gas. He's like, "You guys want to come with me?" And me and Siggety and Charlie were like, "No, we'll just sleep." But I don't think it was that far away.
How crazy? Because I know people that went on tour with Ron.
Yeah.
And, Ron's awesome. He's crazy, but he's crazily awesome. Any good tour stories from going out with Ron, or just?
Yeah, it's weird though. You're on the road with Ron, and Ron was still Ron, and it just like I loved it. I loved the craziness. And I remember we went to New York, went to CBGB's.
Yeah,
he was like, we saw some band there, and he said it was the 5th time he ever got drunk, and it just
because a lot of people don't know, like, Ron before his coma, he was super, like, didn't do anything.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, he was super straight laced. Like, then he hit his head when in coma, and like things changed.
Yeah, it changed. And it just the whole tour itself was just awesome. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm on a summer tour.
Yeah, you guys seem like went everywhere.
And it wasn't, like, sometimes we would get there and we'd go to a bike shop. There would only be 10 people there, but it was still great. The bike shop was so receptive, and, it was just...
Hey, I feel like when we saw you, we had a pretty packed house.
You guys had a packed house. It's fun. Northwest had a lot of people at all the stops who went to.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
And then we went up to...
Because you were probably coming in Northwest thinking, like... Because I always feel like when, especially in the 80s and 90s, before social media, people would come to the Northwest and they just thought it was like the literal middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you're like, why are you putting us up in the corner here?
There's nothing there. You're like...
No, I was proven wrong, and it was good.
Yeah.
And then we went up to Nelson, where Rob Siggety's from.
Yep.
And that's
definitely in the middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
But it's so amazing.
So amazing. It's where they filmed, at the time I really liked that movie Roxanne with Steve Martin. Shout out Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Don't know. And Rob took me to all the spots that were there. And then he threw firecrackers at hippies.
Yeah,
from the roof.
He could do that because his dad was the cop.
Yeah, there was a cop there. It was a cool scene, though. It was good. It was.
Yeah, Nelson's cool. It's like a little ski town, and it's on that lake, and
I think we did a couple more shows and a few tours, but then it was like, not that I was trying to get paid, but I did have to make a little bit of money to keep doing it.
Yeah,
and I was friends with Steve Bundeck with DK, and we're talking about riding for DK.
And that's before they made bikes.
They made bikes, just race bikes.
But they just made race bikes. They hadn't done a freestyle team.
No.
But their race bikes they'd only done for a couple years.
Yes, yeah.
They hadn't done a freestyle bike yet. Because I remember when the whole DK thing when you guys had that freestyle team.
Yeah.
I think it was like the original 4 of you guys on the team.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
The team turned out really good. But, so I was... it sucked. Like calling Ron and telling him it was like breaking up with your girlfriend type thing, and it's just like it. I mean, you were kind of, you and Siggety were like the 2 kind of big dudes on the team, I think, at that time. Yeah, I guess Cam was just getting on.
Just getting on.
He was just like, I was just like, I felt like what probably, Dominguez and Blyther thought when they saw Hoffman ride. Because when I saw Cam riding, I was like, man, I'm going to have a job soon.
I rode a Cam when he was 14.
Yeah, he was so good and like just gnarly. But before DK though, I did ride for a short stint with Bully.
You did, but it wasn't RL. Was RL still?
No,
it was MCS, right?
Yeah, it was MCS, and Jody Donnelly was the one that said, "Oh, you want it?" Because I kind of quit. Like Wilkerson, knowing that like DK thing might work out, but I didn't. I kind of wanted to let it breathe a little bit, but then Jody's like,
"Well, what Ron say when you called him?"
Oh, he was bummed.
Yeah,
and I was bummed too. But it was just time to move on. And I remember, it was just
you just ran its course.
Yeah, it ran its course, and it was about almost 4 years. I think 3.5 years on it.
Yeah,
and but
then there's Bully, and you rode a Bully piston.
No, the hot rod.
I swear you had a piston in one thing with the wishbone and stuff.
No, I thought it was always a hot rod.
You might be right, and you were on Kink.
Kink, yeah. Kink
was a parts company.
When I was doing the Bully thing, I was actually living in Winston-Salem, and it was me, Hal Brindley, and Zach Phillips.
Yeah.
So he was doing Kink there in the house.
Yeah.
And also Steve was living there, so it was 4 of us in that house at that time it was Playhouse.
Yeah.
Because Play started, 2B's done. Oh, what's this? I was just handed a photo from Ryan Barrett.
Oh, he just snuck it in.
Is that you?
No, that's Scotty Clevenger.
Oh, that's at the Playhouse.
That's the ramps.
Yeah, we had some ramps in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we'd have bands playing on there and stuff.
Yeah.
Just have little parties, and that whenever there'd be, because we had a racetrack, Tanglewood. Whenever there was races, all the racers would come over and they would jump the box. I mean, that was a 4-foot box of wedge landing.
But that's what was normal.
Yeah,
back
that's
then.
what was normal. That's awesome. But
I wish I had that. You were on a Wilkerson at that time, and that's when I saw you. I didn't know.
Yeah, let me see the photo.
I was on a Wilkerson. This was right when it was running, because I remember I shaved my head and Ron used it for an ad too. Just I don't know why. I just thought it was
He's
funny.
ripping this. You're ripping that no-hander.
Dude, no, that's Scotty Clevenger.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, my dad took that photo, and like, dude, I think I was. That was probably 94. Does that timeline line up for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was 94 after the Tanglewood National.
Okay.
And like, I don't even know who told me about it, like how to get over there. But I have photos, and like Muth is in the.
Like, I didn't know you at all then.
No, absolutely not.
I knew Corey though.
Yep. Maybe Corey might have said, come over, but that like the Playhouse there, because you were in 2, so I was in the timeline. I was like, all right, so you're with Steve and Hal.
Mm-hmm.
Zach.
And Zach.
And that's where Zach started.
Kink, yeah.
And I was riding that heavy chain, the sprocket.
The sprocket with like the nudie lady on it or something?
And the I-beam. Do you remember the I-beam?
Oh, I love the I-beam.
Yeah, I did too. I was like, I don't have to tighten my head.
No, the I-beam. Well, because what you got it.
So listeners, the I-beam was this. I don't know.
It was just when you got an inch and eighth headset. I didn't know how to use a star nut. It was confusing. Like people had loose headsets. They made an I-beam. I mean, look it up. It was like the best thing ever. And then some of us would just go to the hardware store and make homemade I-beams
too. Way heavier because it was just a long bolt with a couple washers. But I was living there for a while, and that's when the Bully switch, and then finally me and Steve were talking. It's like, oh yeah, we can get you on DK, and that was like my first check.
Were you kind of weirded out about the DK thing since we were just stepping into freestyle, or
no? Because Steve Budnick was the team manager for it, and I trusted him, and he's just like, this will. We're going to be doing freestyle.
So who was the first? It was you, Jeff Harrington.
Yep,
Winkleman, and there's who?
Todd Okelviak was probably riding at that same time too.
I don't think he was in that. Was he in the first ads? Todd would have been.
It could have been Herb Hill, like some.
I feel like those guys were still. I feel like there was one more older dude.
I mean, Frymouth came along later.
He did. Hey, don't get me wrong. I like some Todd Wakowiak and, deep cut Herb Hill.
Oh,
Herb Hill had a sick tail whip.
Hell yeah, he did.
Herb Hill had a sick tail whip.
No,
so
I'm trying to think of who the other one would have been then. Yeah, but
even with you three, I mean, that's in mid '90s. That's kind of like a power move for the company, like.
And we're all on race frames.
Yeah.
Like Arlene was. Wave.
He was
second wave. Yeah.
He was like with Herb Hill. Todd. It might have been Todd.
can't remember who else it could have been.
I mean, like the dream team. I feel like like you, Winkleman, Arteline, Herb,
Frymouth,
Wachowiak,
Todd, Chris, Doyle.
And Doyle kind of came in near the end of my tenure at DK too, because he wasn't in Damn Kids.
Yeah, he was.
Oh no, Damn Kids. He wasn't in what was the first one? That was Damn Kids.
Damn Kids.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was. He was in that one. Yeah. So, but he wasn't we didn't do a lot of tour because we did a DK tour, and that was us. It was me.
That was the freestyle guys.
Yeah. Nate Hansen too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate Hansen was the flatlander on that.
Totally.
And we had Lou, Sweet Lou.
Yep.
Dressed in an Elvis costume. It was good. That tour was also fun.
Yeah.
It was a...
when DK came out, it was a big deal. I mean, I wanted... you guys were on those Legacy race frames. Mm-hmm. And then...
you had a yellow one. Mm-hmm. Blue tires at the show in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Blue V-Monsters, maybe?
Was that the one where I pulled my first flip fakie?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
I pulled two things. I pulled my first flip fakie there and my first full decade over the box.
Dang.
It was local. I was in my hometown, and that was our last show, and I'm just felt good.
I mean, you three are kind of if you think about 94, scrap contest and that, I mean, you guys are kind of the young blood pushing that new school in a weird way. You kind of avert everything rider, and then Jeff Harrington kind of just came out of nowhere, and with the props interview and stuff, and the duck helmet, but he just had so... The hair didn't really bother me because I lived in Oregon. People had weird haircuts.
It never bothered me. I
never thought it was that weird because I lived in Eugene and Portland, and people had double mo. The duck helmet I thought was weird, but I thought it was awesome. But he when he do Superman seat grab tabletop, he always had that little
something
extra.
Else, yeah.
And his bikes kind of looked like they sucked, but kind of looked really cool at the same time. And then Colin was just I think kind of just starting to show everybody everything that he had to offer. He
would do some big.
Well, he almost pulled that. He almost pulled the first double flip.
Yep, on a 4-foot box jump.
And it's the one where if you've watched the props, where he gets up and he flips so fast he passes back out.
Yeah.
It's insane. Have you ever seen that? You've seen that footage.
I've seen it, yeah. That was at some. Just a box jump contest.
I timmied out on Colin. We were at the 96 Worlds, and he was there. And I remember I was like, Colin Winkleman. Because he was blowing up,
Oh, yeah.
And he was flaring mini ramps at that time, which was a big deal. And I remember he lost his passport. And he was so mad. And he went out to ride the mini ramp mad and just started doing flares with no pads and helmet. And I was just like, this dude is so gnarly.
One of my favorite Winkleman clips was there was this mall called Carolina Circle. Well, no, was it Carolina Circle?
Yeah.
Well, the transition?
Yeah. But next to it, probably about 10 feet away, was a holly bush. You know what a holly bush is?
Yeah.
It's a big bush with spiky leaves.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm going to jump into that. It's like, why? Because he wanted to. So he puts on this big coat, gloves. He just suited up. Were you there for that one?
No.
It's in the it's in.
Yeah. And
is it in
credits of something?
Something. Yeah. He just pedals his balls off, launches off, throws his bike, and just whee into the holly bush, gets out and smiles. It was just.
It was not small. That's what's crazy is how calculated even all of his biggest stuff was.
Yeah.
Right. And he just pulled it perfect. Pulled landing into a bush perfectly.
He did. He pulled it. It was just
Well, he did lots of. I mean, when he first came out, he was doing those alley-oop transfers at scrap.
Yes.
Then he did that 270. Was that Florida contest where he 270?
That was a play contest, the contest of love, because it was on.
Where he went off the box jump into that scrappy-looking snake run.
And you know what? He didn't ride the contest. That's all I wanted to do. He did that. And he goes, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. Yeah, but that's the thing is he didn't need to ride a contest because that's what you remember.
No, that's all.
Who won that contest?
I don't know.
In your mind it's Colin because he did that crazy.
Who did win that contest?
Probably Rob Nolly.
I was gonna say Ron Kimmler or something.
No, I think. I mean, there was a mini ramp contest. I'm pretty sure Rob won it.
Yeah, on a Kuwahara.
No, it was GT then.
Oh, was he on GT then? Or Dyno. He was on Dyno first.
Oh yeah, maybe it was Dyno. But yeah, the DK days were good, and it like that. That's when I first started getting paid.
Yeah.
For the first time, and then started getting like some co-sponsors like DC.
And the DC thing was a super big. I mean,
yeah.
You remember? I mean, you were probably, but I remember seeing the DC ad with.
We did that.
What
poster.
A lineup!
I still have that poster because it was all the DK team. Robbie Miranda, Neil Wood, plus Doyle, me, Winkleman, Todd, and then they
Ardeline.
Ardeline. They photoshopped Robbie Morales and Chad Kagi because they weren't there, so that we had to do these little spaces that keep in there.
Did you get a DC ring?
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have your DC ring?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you do with it?
I sold it.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it real diamonds?
No, mine wasn't. Only the mirrors and them had it. Somebody wanted it, and
Did Robbie's have real diamonds?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I know Mirrors did. Mirrors was full real.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was telling somebody the other day, we were talking about BMX shoes, and I had those Mira DCs.
Yeah.
And that was a really good riding shoe. I mean, everybody, it might be so, it was definitely mid-school techie bulky shoe. I really liked that shoe to ride it.
It was good. The DC thing was pretty cool.
I mean, they pushed you guys. That was a big deal for how they put both feet in the water for that BMX program.
Oh, I get it because it's a shoe company.
Oh, I didn't even think about that pun, but yeah, there you go. But yeah, it seemed like a super big deal in the magazines then.
It was. It was like, I remember they flew us out there, did the photo shoot, and then it was probably about a year later, still in DK, and that's when Todd Lyons, wow man, we're at that at Mirrors Park. Remember the park? Mira and Don White had that park in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Eastwood. Yeah, and we were. I was there, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I'm starting this thing with Jinko."
Did you even know what Jinko was?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, "Do they make normal clothes?"
Yeah.
Yeah. They make normal pants and stuff, and like they want to they want me to build a team, and so he's like told me I think it was like $800 a month, which is so much.
Yeah. What was that? Like 98, 97?
Yeah, around then.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it was 98, 99.
Okay.
But then I was just like, it was 98, and I was just like, let me talk to Steve, and they, it's part of my check was part of DC was helping with the team and stuff, but I got a little bit of a bump, but he was okay with it.
Yeah.
And then I started riding for Jinko. I remember that they tried.
Did you have to wear the shoes?
I did. They were not good.
No, Bruce got them. They had like cardboard insoles.
There was something, I was just like, oof, what did I do?
Because I remember Bruce was on Janko. I don't think he was paid, but he'd get like tons of boxes.
I think Nasty was.
Yeah.
Then TL, Andrew Ferris maybe, but it was and they were cool. They would film stuff and we'd go shoot some things and. You
had that infamous Janko ad.
That ad.
Would
they put that music to it?
The what?
With the Mr. T doll in it?
Yeah, but then they go. I saw when it was out. You never got to see your stuff, and then the music was horrible, absolutely garbage.
But you do like a pretty big backward rail in that.
I do a good backwards rail, and I ate shit a bunch.
Well, you rode off that 15-foot ledge to tiny bank.
Todd Lyons goes, I don't want to do it. You should do it, Leigh. Okay, and then and that's when I remember I landed. Smacked my face on the dirt and then smacked it on the concrete, and all these jocks were walking by, and I just looked up at him and said, "Phys ed is hard." And then actually, you could hear it barely because the guy caught it on the audio. It's just the music. I wish they wouldn't have made it like, oh, I thought that was your style. I was like, no, you could have asked me. Definitely wouldn't have been whatever that crap was.
It was like kind of like a Limp Bizkit-y
rip-off
band or something.
I don't even know if Limp Bizkit was around then, but
it was something very late 90s.
It was bad. And I was like, oh man. Because I was all pumped. I was like, pulled this really good backwards rail.
The backward rail was gnarly, dude.
Yeah, it was.
UC Davis?
UC Davis. It's one of the big ones there.
You should see all the outtakes, because that probably took me like 7 or 8 tries, but the other ones were really, like, I crashed pretty good. And Winkleman was filming the second angle, which they used in the DK video. He's like, I knew you'd crash a bunch, but I knew you would do it perfect once. It was just, he always had good words.
Yeah.
And then so with DK, and eventually, because and I stopped doing contests a lot. I was doing a lot of...
Yeah, you did kind of stop riding in contests, didn't you?
Yeah, it was just, I would ride it, and then that's sort of when video started becoming a little more popular. I was like, well, I like this better.
Yeah.
It felt a little bit more like my style, and you just go ride street, and then did the Road Fools.
Yeah. What are those?
I don't know. Props. Like, and did Road Fools 2, and I couldn't believe I got to do that, and I was like...
Well, Road Fools 2, like, when I think of Road Fools 2, I feel like you're like one of the... there's always, all the riders, but I feel like you really stood out in that one.
Because I don't want to
You beat the fuck out of yourself.
Yeah, I don't want to say hungry, but it was just like, I knew how big of a deal something like that was with props, because I've been in a couple of them, and then it was just like...
Well, Road Fools 1 was enormous.
Yeah, that was, and then being on the follow-up, basically, yeah. And the whole reason I got to go was because Frymouth he was supposed to go on it.
Didn't he go?
No,
he didn't. Yeah.
He was editing Damn Kids.
Oh.
And he couldn't, he had to stay home and edit that, so they sent me and Arlene. Took two of us for one Frymouth.
And you met up with him in San Francisco, right?
Yeah, because we couldn't go on. I don't know why we couldn't go on the first part, but we just couldn't.
You, met up with Ron and then...
Yeah, we met up in San Francisco and then got on the bus from there.
Yeah.
And it was wild. And then we came here.
And you came to
Portland. I almost broke my nose.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah, that's because I was like, I could do an opposite rail, but it was like a 20 stair.
Yeah, the ones were at the Moda Center. You tried that big blue one that's like 30 stairs.
But it's my oppo.
Yeah, and you did opposite rails a fair amount. Yeah, you were pretty comfortable.
But it was a kink, and it hit me off funny. I think it was a kink.
There's no kink. No, it's just straight.
Oh, I just messed up.
But it's a. Ryan's seen it. It's the one in the back, that really big one.
Because then we went around the corner
to the one that's just a tiny bit smaller.
And I remember Sandy and Tag were up there trying, and that was kind of at the time where you would try rails together.
Yeah.
You know? But they were trying it over and over again. I was still dripping blood and pulled it first try, and I think they were a little bummed. I didn't mean to. I thought I'd be on it for a while, and I was blood still dripping down.
Yeah, I remember you were sending ice picks down, you were sending ice picks down rails that you had no business to because they did not have the right run-ups for...
No.
Where...
Slow.
No, well, not... where you're going to go straight at an ice pick, but where you, turn and carve into it, like it's more like a ramp ice grind down a rail.
But that makes sense to me. I feel like you lock into it.
Oh, that seems so scary to me.
But that was good. And that, Tag burned my face.
Yeah, your face was burnt.
Yeah. It was funny because my face got burnt when he blew a fireball.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get a photo of it, and the liquor stayed lit and just hit me, and then I'm smacking my face, Rooftop smacking my hair out, and it's just like, and then the next day I just went and got a bunch of Neosporin and just covered my face with Neosporin. I remember it was awesome because in the video, on the day after that, I'm just doing a regular interview, but people were like, why? What did he put on his face? Vaseline?
No, your face was shiny.
Because they didn't explain it until after.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. It was pretty good.
Yeah, no, your face is definitely shiny in it.
Yeah, and I remember that trip was like, Marco, he's like, you're coming on the next one. I was like, I've made it.
I always laugh at that video because when they interview you guys, you're like, oh, we woke up so early and we went to Burnside. And you even look at the timestamp. And then I remember being at Burnside stressing because we'd still get in fights down there and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And I was stressing. I'm like, because we got there at 6:30 in the morning. We're like 7 at the latest. If we're going to, with that crew. I'm
right.
It's so many people. And, dude, you guys didn't roll up till 9:30. 9:30. And this is like late 90s where you're like, sometimes we're leaving at 9:30. And I was just like, but somehow no one showed up that day to skate.
Nope.
And then at 11:30, Sage Bulliard, who we were always cool with, but one of the super OGs, rolls up. And he was just like, whoa, this is crazy. And Joe Rich was annihilating the park.
Yeah. And Jimmy dropped off that ledge.
We don't want... Jimmy did snake me on that one.
Oh, sorry.
We won't get into that. Do you remember me riding? Do you remember me laying an X up over the hip?
Yes.
So here's my story. No, if anyone wants to hear it. I was so shred bone, props was there. I was like, I'm going all out.
Was it you and Bristol there?
Me, Bristol, Andy Merrill, Daniel Randall.
Yeah, Daniel Randall.
We were all super hyped. Rich couldn't ride because he hurt himself the night before. But I remember I did an X up over the hip and I got stuck on my foot because I was running 180s. I landed X up. I totally annihilated myself, and I was like, "Fuck! I gotta redeem myself." And that drop-in Jimmy done. Me and Twin Fin had done it a few times, and I was like, "I'm just gonna go do the drop-in right now." So I go up there to do the drop-in, and I take 2 pedals and go to bunny hop. I bent my front wheel so bad that I didn't know. So right when I bunny hop, my wheel hits my fork and sends me over the bars flying down to flat. And I was just like, then the rest of the session, I cracked my bars. I'm trying to get my wheel to work. And then Jimmy goes up and does the damn thing. Double page spread and dig.
He ate it once too.
He did eat it, yeah. But I was just like, I still give Jimmy a hard time about it. I'm like, I had all these hopes and dreams, trying to live my freestyle dream, and old Jimmy Levan just comes in and gets me.
Just got to get his glutes.
No, dude.
Was it here where the hotel where Jimmy rode off the pool?
No, that was San Francisco.
That was, you're right. That was San Francisco.
Yeah.
But,
no, and Jimmy he was crazy on those first 2 trips.
Yeah, that Jimmy crash too was crazy.
The one in Seattle?
Yeah.
So that crash is almost, Toast, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Toast lived up in Seattle, and Toast is older than all of us, but he was such a gnarly street rider in the early 90s. He has a crash on that same handrail, and him and Jimmy are good friends. It's literally identical to Jimmy's.
Jimmy went way too fast. Is that what Toast did?
I think Toast did the same. Front tire went over, knocked out. Like me and Toast have watched both of them. They're literally almost the same wreck, because Toast is like in an infection video, one of the old Northwest videos, and then but they literally have it's the same wreck, like the same spot. It's crazy, but yeah, Jimmy and Crandall got hurt pretty.
Yeah, on that one, I was going to do that rail too. Like we were going to, and then my bike was messed up, so I went around because we were parked around the corner.
Yeah,
and I was fixing my bike, and then all of a sudden Sandy comes around and goes, "I think Jimmy's dead." I think Jimmy. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
because he was out and convulsing and everything. But luckily, both those guys were all right.
Yeah. I think that trip. I look fondly on that one because we got to be part of it, but. Yeah. I feel like that one was kind of murderer's row, like for people getting hurt on that road pulls too.
I got hurt on the daily, but never taken out. It was I came back all limping, burnt. I was crispy.
Yeah, you definitely were.
It was good, and but it just moving on after the road fools and.
Well, before we jump to the next thing, you rode in some X Games before that too.
I did, yeah.
And. Let's talk about some of the tricks you did in X Games that some people... Because people know you as a vert rider, but we were talking about some of the wild tricks you've done.
Well, it was in the San Diego X Games. I was on DK then.
Yeah.
And we had these... I don't even know what they were. They were like pleather type jerseys. They're the most unbreathable things. They look cool. Do you remember those? They're like bowling,
Oh, I do remember. They were like pleather?
Oh God, they were so. I don't know what they're made of, but they're thick and.
They were seriously bowling shirts, I think.
Yeah, no, but they.
But they fit the time for the 90s.
Yeah.
All you needed is some Foster Brothers Airwalks to go with it.
But I remember we were on the deck. It was during the contest, and Parker just went and did a no-handed 5.
Yeah.
And I could do no-handed 3s at the time, and same with Mira. But we were talking I want to do no-handed 5 so bad. And I just remember during my run, I was like, I'm just going to try one. And just because that's when you try stuff.
That was just the cusp right before Rezzies and stuff.
Yeah.
It was where you would go to the contest.
Last trick.
In the back of your head, you'd be like, am I going to be hurt? Am I going to have to call work tomorrow? Am I going to be hurt for the next 3 months? Do you know where you'd be thinking that? You'd be like, do I need to set up a contingency plan for this?
I never thought that far ahead. You're
smarter
than me.
Yeah, I'd get hurt.
So I just went and did it. I just did a no-handed 5 during my run. Landed a little bobbly, but rode out of it.
Yeah.
Popped up, and I remember Mira's like, what'd you do? I was like, I did a 540. I took my hands off. He goes, no, but what? How? He wanted to know specifics. I don't know, man. I just did a 540. I didn't tuck. My bars just bobbled.
Yeah.
Bobble around, but it was
but you had Mira knee pads on there where it just kind of kept everything.
Yeah, it was ting, ting, ting. It
kept everything aligned.
And then the next run, I was like, instead of trying to really do the no-handed 5 better, I was like, I'm going to step it up. And I did no-hander to no-footed 5.
Yeah, which not very many people have done.
No, I know Matt did it.
Yeah.
But mine was gross. It was like a scary monster no-hander to like, what's the no-footer where I just pinned my leg came off.
The little like princess feet or whatever.
Something. It was just like, and that didn't, I mean, I think I ball rode away or something, but it was cool to try those,
Yeah.
And then the following year I was in San Francisco for one, and I was like, I want to do a flip fakie variation.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what, and I was like, maybe a no-handed. And then Volker did one.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that. I was like, I got it. And then I went up the vert ramp, did like, this is when you do like a 4-foot air and then go and try a flip fakie pretty high, and did a half bar spin.
You did a half bar spin fakie?
Well, I tried it.
I didn't.
Ask Biz. Biz loves that story.
What?
I just saw.
That seems insane.
No, I was like, I don't want to do a full bar because I can't see my hand. So because you're like this,
but you can feel it.
So I just passed it to me. I landed, and I just was barely a little nose. But when your bars are backwards, you're really nose. And I just slid like that out, and I was just like, huh.
That seems like an insane trick.
I was like, that didn't work.
Where's footage of that? I need to see.
ESPN's got it somewhere.
Oh man, that sounds crazy.
What about the bloody booger?
Oh yeah, that first. It's funny that the bloody booger. I did it as a nose pick and a fakie nose pick. It's where you
explain what it is for people that don't.
So you do a nose pick, and then basically I would almost do like a top side no footed can, but I'd put my right foot on the left pedal.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting on there for a second, install, and then bring it back.
Now did you invent that, or did it come from England?
No, here's the thing. I also did that in vert as acid drop type thing.
Yeah.
When front wheel, do the bloody booger, then come back. I was doing that. I thought I invented that, but Simon Tabron was no. Jason Davies.
I was gonna say Jason Davies.
Jason Davies was doing them on vert, but at the same time, Clay Brown was doing them on dirt.
Really?
We're all. It was all in that year, so it's just like I think it just. That's just when the bloody booger was supposed to come out on every type of riding. And it was. Yeah.
Did you do them in airs, or did you just do them on lip tricks?
No, I used to do them in airs too.
Okay.
I started in lip tricks. That's where I started doing it, and then I was doing it on quarter pipes. And just airs. And and dent and jumps too.
Yeah.
I used to do it during 2 hip checks.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing you doing the show. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually when I first learned that trick, I was riding my homeless.
Oh, nice.
That's when I first did it. It's funny.
I wonder if Jason Davies learned it when he was on homeless.
That'd be interesting.
Maybe
James, both listen to Motorhead at the same
James
time.
Shepard was like channeling you guys.
But that's the thing when people talk about inventing tricks, like probably been done, and that and it's like
especially back then. I think some people that are younger don't realize like you didn't know what was going on.
No, because I remember I did nothing fakies like well before I saw anybody else doing because I heard Wilkerson did one, nothing air.
Yeah,
I was like that'd be way easier than fakie. Because when you take everything off, the bars just drop in your lap and you're fine. And then...
the nothing air just seems...
Yeah.
No,
I agree. On quarter pipe?
Greg Guillot, nothing, no foot can air?
Yeah. That's just hucking. That's a hucking to just let go.
Yeah.
But, TJ used to do those on jumps too, though.
Oh, he did?
He did like the no footed, right?
Yeah, he's just so dialed that, like when I think of like dudes doing them in the early 90s, you're like... You're praying and hoping, but then TJ's just so dialed that you're like, and like Nyquist does them.
I would like bar. Nyquist would do no king bar, but in air though, because then your front wheel.
The air does seem a little.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some kids out there that. I'm sure there's some contest kids, like some feast kids that do nothing to bar or something airing,
Yeah, and then so in DK days, that's when I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Barrett, who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I knew Shad longer.
Oh, you know me longer than Barrett?
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
I didn't know you done Road Fools too. I don't think. Did I?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I met you.
Right.
I met you at.
You met me on 2 Hip.
Yeah,
I
think we met in '95.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right then.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because you were at the show, and then we all met up and we tried riding Burnside in the afternoon. Remember, I tried barging us in.
Oh, it was way too big.
And everybody sat there. I kind of have footage of it, and I'm like, I'm taking my run, and I go up there, and I almost got annihilated. It was like 4 in the afternoon, and we rolled up to the park with like 30 dudes.
Yeah.
It almost got really nasty. And then, then we just all rode. We had a good sesh riding street that night.
Yeah.
Stuff, so yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
And then you guys rode. I had to leave. I remember I had to leave to go to work because I lived in Eugene. And you guys rode Burnside the next morning, I think.
We did get to ride.
You were
that.
like with Curtis Easterbrook and some of those dudes, yeah.
But,
so.
yeah, I feel like we grew up in the right era where we got to look up to these original pros.
Yeah.
You know, and then just sort of work our, like, I just love that we're still in it doing that. But
No, I mean, every era, everybody will argue, but, like, I like that, because Ryan's the era just a little bit after us.
A little bit, yeah.
Where we have the old school, but we still got to have all the mid school, and we still are experiencing stuff, but we just got a tiny taste of that first, kind of gen.
My first bike had a coaster brake.
Yeah,
I was riding quarterbacks with coaster brakes,
which is people don't understand how scary that is. When you see dudes ride coasters good, it's like when you see like Todd Anderson do a 540 with a coaster brake.
Yeah,
you're like, that's the scariest trick ever.
Because if you lean back, you're like, I've done airs before where I've gone up and just stopped.
Yeah,
like it just because I'm too far back, and you're just like, that sucks.
Yeah,
and you would brake because we used to have these little tiny clips that would hold your coaster brake arm on, and they just snap off if you hit too hard. But then you started going, all right, let's get a seat clamp.
The seat clamps, yeah.
Seat clamp on there, but you still break the bolts. But still, it's just like.
I've wondered. I saw those little MX.
Todd Anderson actually. He did you know he welded his to his frames?
That makes sense.
He'd always weld it, and then he's like, "Oh, I just break the weld, and when I change flats," but he goes, "I just patch my tire a lot."
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
well. Let's okay. So DK ended.
Yep.
But it didn't end. Like I remember.
DK went on, but you left.
It went on, and there was a time though when DK's team was too big.
I can imagine that
it got too big, and then Huffy came
and pulled some of the dudes.
Right.
But did Huffy buy DK? I remember
maybe after that wasn't the. I think there was some collab thing going on with him.
Okay.
And maybe they did buy it at the time.
I feel like I always heard Huffy bought DK.
Yeah, I remember. So a lot of the guys went over, and I didn't want to do that. And then because I told Steve, I was like, "Hey, listen, if you gotta let me go, whatever. I just want to stay with DK because I just liked everything." And I was one of the few that got to stay. Doyle stayed, Winkleman, of course.
Yeah.
But then I was there for probably like another year, and I remember it was like '99, and I was about to turn 30. And that's when John Byers came up to me and was talking to me, and he's like, "Hey, because Eastern tried to get me on a little before that, and I just wasn't into it."
Because Eastern started around like '96.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then so it's '99, and he's like, I want to do a signature bike with you." And I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome!" And would get paid the same. I was getting paid at DK, but then I also get royalties for that, and a signature bike.
Yeah,
I was like. It was kind of a dream come true, and I remember talking to Steve, and I've known Steve Bundeck for a long time, TM there, and he just said, "Well, as your team manager, I don't want you to leave, but as your friend, you should take it."
Yeah.
And I've used that. I remember that line. I've used that a bunch in my TM roles now, but it's just like, So I called Billy, and just let him know, and everybody understood. It was just kind of a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And I also knew I'm turning 30. What I don't know. This is the way I could get into working for a company as well.
Yeah.
Because they're local. And then I started doing that, and the Ace of Spades came out, and I was so psyched. And then that was also the time where I started going on the Warp Tour.
Okay.
Like Rick Thorne hooked it up and got me on. Yeah. I did 2 summers of the Warp Tour, and it was the best tour I've ever done in my life because, I loved punk bands.
Yeah.
And on the second year, I actually got to become good friends with the guys from Hot Water Music. And I remember sending them all bikes and just like
nice.
It was so like it was a wild tour.
Yeah,
Deftones was on it. Like the crew.
I've talked to Birdwell.
Yeah,
him and Dave Tom used to do.
They might have been on some of the same tours we did because there was a separate thing that Wilkerson would do.
Yeah, so they probably were. I mean,
yeah, but
I doubt you were being. I mean, maybe you were, but I don't know if you were getting as rowdy as Birdwell and Dave Tom at that time.
No, it's funny because people were like, "Oh, you guys must have partied all the time." I was like, "No, you know what we did on the bus? We played chess."
Yeah,
we played chess, and just like
I think
we had a couple beers, and it was just, but it was good because you could ride vert. You just did 2 1-hour sessions, you and the skaters, and you do doubles with people, and it was just because me and Thorne were the only bikers.
You needed Siggety there for the doubles.
Yeah, I did. Siggety was a good double partner. it was. I remember the wildest feeling was I was just sitting there in the bus eating lunch, and there was a knock on the door, and it was the guitarist Stefan from Deftones.
Yeah.
He's like, "Is Leigh Ramsdell here?" Because he used to ride a 2-hit.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
And he, like, we would go out and cruise and stuff. It was just so weird.
That's funny.
It was awesome. I love doing those tours.
Yeah.
You know? And then we, but back to Eastern, so I started doing that. Had the signature bikes.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
And you were still riding really hard at that time.
I was doing a lot more videos.
Yeah.
I'm still doing some prop stuff. And I was actually, at that time, I was also sideline reporting with ESPN at the X Games.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I just wanted to sort of see what I wanted to do after riding.
Yeah.
For a job. And then,
did you feel like when you turned 30 you had to start thinking about that?
No, because my best year I can say of riding a bike was 29.
Yeah.
Like 29, 30. I was living in Greenville for a little bit, riding with Mira and Nyquist and those guys, and just I didn't feel like I was like, man, I'm dialed. I feel really good,
yeah.
You know? But it's I just kind of wanted to do a little more.
Yeah.
And it's just like, because I did stuff with I had an old clothing company called Useless, and
yeah.
I love the industry side of it, you know? And it was at that time, too, where you're like, well, I wanted to be part of the industry because I didn't want somebody else that doesn't know about bikes. So,
yeah.
And then Eastern, that's what I started working with, I was doing a lot of, like, TM and marketing.
Yeah.
And, like, that's where I learned all my skills. Oh, and I did my first video. I did a couple videos called, because when I was doing Useless,
yeah,
Ryan Barrett was on the team.
So everybody does.
And
Ryan's all being sly over here. He just pulls out the Useless filler video.
That was the last video I did with Will Stroud. That was really fun.
This video's good.
We did a really good trip on that.
And a Useless track jacket.
Yeah.
This is the only piece that I still have.
Oh, it's got everybody's names on it.
Yeah. We had a pretty good team.
Dave, hey, Brumlow's underrated.
Yeah. What would Brumlow do?
He'd go high.
Yeah. But that was also... Oh, he wasn't on here then. It was... Because for a little bit, Troy McMurray...
Oh, he was for a short time.
You want to know how I got on the team?
Tell me.
We're at San Diego X Games. I was on DK then.
Yeah.
And we were coming back from the bar. Everybody was drinking a little bit. And riding back from the bar, it was me, McMurray, Jimmy Walker, and Winkleman.
Mm-hmm.
And we're almost at the hotel. And all of a sudden, I turn back, and Troy just has his pants down, cursing at some car going by. Fingers up, pants down.
Yeah.
Jimmy kept going. I just don't think he knew what was going on. I mean, Winkleman back there, what's going on? What's happening? Car turns around fast. Everybody, they parks in the driveway. They get out, 4 dudes. I have this small Toyota Corolla and just start pounding on Troy. And then Winkleman just had knee surgery, and he's like, I can't do anything. Like, he just couldn't.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, and I don't fight. I'm not a fighter. And I was like, I guess it's up to me. So the little guy, so they're like hunched over, 4 of them, just kind of like pounding.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just pedaled as fast as I could, and just basically bunny out and sprocketed some dude's back. and I flipped over because I'm not used to sprocketing people's backs. And I just remember that this dude, he was huge. It's in my head, anyways. I'm just laying on my back, like he picks up my bike. And I just thought, oh, here comes my turn. And I just yelled, leave him alone. And then maybe their word cops are coming. They just got in the car and left. And then went up to the hotel room. Troy was all like, Leigh saved me. And all this. And then I was like, you should ride for my clothing company. He's like, all right. And then, so he rode for like a year for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then I just stopped doing it. It was just mud. Like, it was just those things where you try and you're like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, even a fun little t-shirt company.
It was. And it was enough to pay for this video. And we did a good trip. We went up to Maine, and I had a good blowout there. Because I was driving, and I was a little, I was just cranky. We couldn't find a hotel room. Finally, my friend Todd went and talked to this dude, gave him like $100, said, we'll be out by 5 a.m., but we weren't. So we get into the hotel room, all of us in there. I go in to take a shower, and the power goes off. And I'm already cranky and mad, and I just come out like the dad, naked. I was like, turn the fucking lights back on, or I'm turning this. Remember, I'm turning this around. We're going home. And then I went back in, and like it was the breaker tripped. It wasn't them at all. Like.
That AC kicked on. We were just chilling in the hotel room. Lee's in the shower. We're not even thinking about anything, you know? And then boom, the power goes out. And then Leigh comes back out, dude. But to be fair, I think you drove like 14 hours.
I did. I was definitely
straight.
Just done. I was just done.
You were just fried.
I thought they were messing with me. I was like, wrong time to mess with me. But
this is that's in the van. That's the crew.
Oh yeah.
Now Ryan's pulling out some more photos from this trip.
No, but this is the first time where the clothing company actually was able. I made enough money. Like I didn't actually make the money, but I made enough to where let's do a road trip. Gave everybody like what $200 for food, right? Like I gave you guys all food money, and like it was good. Dude, I got it. Who was that in there?
That's Todd.
Oh, that is Todd.
That's funny.
But like you're riding Laird's bike, or you're on my bike.
Yeah, but
it's my bike and Laird's.
Yeah, and that's when I did that big feeble.
Yeah,
and that was the day after that. And
is that the feeble where you had the helmet on?
I had a helmet on, and it was like a big
double.
Oh, it's a double kick. I was thinking the one where you bombed the rail and you went and did.
No, that was a fun one.
This is Burlington, Vermont.
Burlington, and I remember like I did a big rail, and I was just kind of in this. It was sort of like the Winkelman thing. I was in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I got to channel this somewhere.
Yeah.
And I was because it was the day after that I thought they
fucked with you.
Yeah, and but my mood changed quickly after I pulled both those, you know?
So I'm wondering, like, do you remember why the video was called that?
Filler?
Yeah.
Oh, we were just talking about, like, how there's always filler in a lot of videos, and we just thought it was funny.
So I think that it was kind of around that time that, like, because it was, I feel like Laird gets the credit for that. I feel like his filler, like,
yeah.
And your day, like, the video at that point, you had hammers. There was no filler because your.
I'm gonna have to watch this again because I haven't seen this video for a while.
Your clips were just like that crazy long green rail.
Yep.
The double kink ledge.
I had the flare, the carbon flare over the channel.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
So it was just like shit, man.
And
do you think filler's your best video part?
I think I liked it because I was able to pick the music and help with, like, Will did all the editing, but you're able to be like, no, let's do this, you know, and it's like also the memories from it. And I did a lot of firsts on it, and I remember I could barely do flares because I pull out way too much.
Yeah.
Land flat. And there was this one quarter pipe where it was a 8-foot quarter and then maybe like a 3 or 4 foot gap, right? And then the other quarter was pulled back. It was a 6-foot quarter. It's like, man, I pull back so much. I think I could do that.
Yeah.
And then I remember Will's like, do you want to do a flip fakie first? Like, no, I don't. It's not going to work. I just want to do
You're like, it doesn't translate.
Yeah, and I was like, so I did the first one, slid out, and the second one I just pulled it. Like, and it was, yeah.
You're going to have to bring this by the shop. I'm going to have to watch this again. I feel like I haven't seen it since
But
since it came out.
Yeah. It's funny also, like, I remember my first DK video, I was pretty psyched.
I always like the parts, and you have one of them, where it was a dude who was a vert rider, kind of predominantly, maybe not predominantly, but had strong vert roots, but had a full part with like street and stuff. So like you, Josh Hino, and Stuart King. You know, like Stuart King had that poor boy part.
Yep.
And then Hino had Nowhere Fast, and your DK part you had vert too.
Yeah.
And I've always just liked parts like that where it's like this dude's ripping vert, but then he's gonna go out and just rip it up in the streets too. You know, it's just like so far apart from each other in most BMX.
Yeah, and that's just kind of how it was. You just sort of rode everything.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it, and I feel like I was never the best at anything, but I had fun at everything.
Yeah, and you got flat too.
You know,
you also rode flat.
Yeah, I rode flat too. You know, but yeah, because one of my, like, I remember doing. I feel like I was the inventor of this, the one-handed decade.
Really?
Yeah.
In Flatland?
Yeah. Like a long.
I'm not the scholar on that.
No, it's not some flat. They told me, but I was just like, when you're in the middle of it, you're weightless. So just throw your hand off, and I would just throw it off, you know, and like actually.
Not when I do it. I'm so bad at that.
But I had a bully ad with that. doing that.
Oh, you did, didn't you?
Yeah, button deck shot it. Because I had me doing that, and then just like a boost in the air or something.
I do remember that. It was black and white ad, right?
Yeah, black and white.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Well, back to Eastern, rode for them a while, learned some business stuff, and it was different. It was kind of hard becoming a TM.
Was it hard since you were friends with John too for a while? Did that make it hard?
Yeah, and I think so. And I think we had different views. Like I was really he's good. He's good about building a complete bike at a good affordable price. Yeah. Mike Corley, but it's just it is their business, and I think the hard part was I would try to treat it like it was mine. Like some people thought I owned Eastern because I was always kind of the face of it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it wasn't. It's theirs. They could do what they want, But it's and it was also harder. I was sort of winding my career down as a pro.
Now, do you think your career started winding down because you had a few I know there was a period where you had a couple of years of some bad injuries.
No, I don't think it was so much injuries. It was more. I was just doing too much on the backside. Yeah. Too, and I wasn't going out being able to just ride whenever.
So you weren't riding as much as you wanted.
Yeah, and then I just remember when I was like, all right, I'm fine with it, but I wasn't because I go to a skate park and I was like, do I need to perform? It was just my it was all in my head. Like nowadays, I feel like I'm 15 again, and I'm running like I'm 15 because my tricks are 15-year-old tricks.
Dude,
I do one hand, one footer, tire grabs, tables.
I tell people that I go, the older you get and the longer you ride, I go, literally all I try to do now with my bike riding is make it feel like it was when I was 14. I go, you just want to chase that feeling. You peak in your 20s and 30s, but then you want to bring it back down to where you began. Maybe still go high, but
that back down part is the hard part because I feel like I was in my head worrying about expectation of others. I wasn't thinking about me. Yeah. And it's just I remember when I turned 50, I was out riding with, we're in a local park in North Carolina, and it was riding with Nikita Duke and Hannah Roberts. And we're just riding, and I just remember I was just pedaling out of quarterback, and I just started laughing. I was like, I'm 50 years old. I'm about to do a tabletop, and it's so fun. Yeah. I mean, the only difference between now and from 40 below is I'm trying to be smoother on my bike. I never cared before. Yeah.
I just want to be able to just, I'm like, if I can go be 50 and do a 4 or 5 foot air. Yeah. And still just do a fast grind, I'm completely happy.
Oh, I love grinding vert ramps.
It's the best feeling.
So fun because you just got the weird, it's so different than a mini.
Yeah, because you just float.
Yep. And I dropping in on big ramps, and it's fun. But it's once I learned to, I wouldn't say live with it, just accept it. I could just ride for me and it was because I remember I was talking to Spinner recently, and he was having that problem where he's like, I feel like people are gonna look at me. I was like, man, just go out there and do something. People will be psyched that you're just riding.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know how old Spinner is now.
He's not that old. He just doesn't ride that much. I was like, just because he goes, I can do tail whip nose. I was like, go out there and do that. Just have fun.
People will see that you're just enjoying your bike.
Correct.
Now, if you go out and you're struggling, where if Spinner went out and he's trying to 720 a box and he hasn't done, it's you're like, why is this dude doing that? But if he's just out dinking around, smiling, you're like, I want to ride with this dude. I want to ride with this dude.
It's funny. I think the worst thing nowadays. When I go to a skate park and a kid calls me sir. I don't like that.
I get the thing where kids always ask me why my bike's so weird. I'm like, well, I can't explain it, dude.
Yeah.
Your bike will be weird when you're my age, too.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's funny, working now, from Eastern, and then I started working at Mongoose.
So was that just you kind of just because you've been at Mongoose for a little now.
Yeah. I'm going on, I think 9 years.
So when you left Eastern, do you technically feel like you retired from being pro?
Oh, before I left Eastern.
Okay.
Before, yeah. I in retirement, so weird. I just I didn't consider myself a pro.
You anymore. Weren't thinking about video part.
Yeah, no, and I would still try stuff. And I remember for the Eastern video, I got knocked out pretty good, broke my hip, and
that's with that ledge, right?
Yeah. It's but. I don't think it really slowed me down. I still did rails after all that, and it just kind of the only thing that kind of stuck was all right, this Eastern part will be my last part. I'm going to make it, and I wanted to make.
And you felt like that was
And it wasn't pressure on me or anything.
That part was gnarly.
Let's just do some.
And you were wearing you put the helmet on for it, and
yeah, I think the helmet kind of hurt me because it was a big motorcycle helmet, and I think it slammed my head and kind of concussed me a little more, and I probably would have.
Was it an actual old school one?
No, it was a newer one, but I bought it off eBay or something.
Yeah.
You know, but it was new.
Yeah.
I didn't buy some old person's janky helmet.
I mean, we all know dudes that have wore old helmets.
Yeah, but it was sort of like Eastern was just changing, and I actually didn't work for anybody for a while. I was helping Lucy with the Dew Tours.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that, yeah.
And I got a little bit of, I was working with Red Bull for a little bit.
Yep.
And then Matt Hoffman's the one that actually got me on with Mongoose.
So let's talk, ever since you've been on Mongoose, and I know people see this, like, you know, Mongoose, like, and this is, I'm just going to lay out. So Mongoose to me felt like, you know, it was always like the shit, you know, like they were always had their finger on the pulse. Around 96, 97, didn't they file bankruptcy, Pacific Bottom or something, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact specifics.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting.
But then they like let the whole team go.
Yeah,
and they brought some people back, and yeah.
And then since you've been on, it feels like. And I don't know if I'm sure there's more people involved than you.
Oh, yeah, always.
But it feels like you guys are kind of, and not to compare, but you know how GT did that a few years ago, where you're like, oh, GT's a viable brand, where they were kind of like not like that, and it feels like that's starting to happen with Mongoose again. You guys have a dope team.
Yeah, the team's incredible.
You do make a real, you know, it's not just like you go into Kmart and see the bikes. You do make aftermarket. Stuff and
we make good like Brian Baldus, who's an old freestyle guy. He's from Scrap.
Yep.
Guy.
I totally remember him.
He's the product manager. He's the one that so he knows BMX and he does race like his kids race. So we got a good race line.
And you guys are doing really. I mean, I race now. You guys are doing. There's a lot of Mongooses at the track.
And then the freestyle stuff, and now we just did the Peraza frame. But it's really cool because I feel like the people above me know they don't know a lot about BMX, so they rely on it and they listen. They actually listen.
And that's stuff. Key.
And it is. And they listen to the riders, and we're like, we need to do a frame. It's funny, even when I was talking to Greg Illingworth about, like, oh, we should probably do a frame. He goes, you should do a Peraza frame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Greg's like, yeah, you should do that. And I was like, because he knew. So it's really cool because I feel like the team... Like was
Greg kind of one of the first ones you put on when it was like
I did. He was on way before me.
Oh, he was. Okay.
He went from the South Africa distributor and then kind of got on through the
Euro
UK
and you guys,
distributor.
And that seemed like they started in Europe changing things first before they did here in the States.
Mark Noble was working over there for them and for the distributor there.
Yeah.
But then just the team is great because everybody just gets along and they push each other and they know what's best for the brand.
Yeah.
I feel like. And that's what the Peraza frame was just, it's been helpful. It's cool because now they can be like, oh, we know you make these complete bikes, but there was nothing else you could get. Like, you're done. I mean, complete bike frame is not the same as aftermarket frame.
No, it's not.
And now they can get the aftermarket
like somebody sweats Peraza, they can get his bike.
Yeah.
Which
that's cool,
you should sweat Peraza because he's insane.
He is. I mean, he's a great I hate saying ambassador, but he's a great ambassador for BMX.
That's your time at Red Bull. That's where that's coming from.
Yeah. No, that's Instagram. The ambassador.
Oh, okay.
Or no, that's an influencer.
That's an influencer.
But he I just the whole family for them. You know, it's embodied.
And you guys have been doing cool things. You're doing like the Nirvana things.
Yeah, the jams have been great. Like we did one last weekend, and so many people were there and psyched. And we let the pros ride with all the. Because it was a jam. We pick out a standout rider, but it's not like first, second, third.
Yeah.
But they got to ride with like 10-year-olds doing trains with Kevin.
Yeah,
and Ben Wallace.
Well, it'd be like imagine if you were a kid and you were like, hey. You want to come out and ride this ramp with Josh White and Dominguez, and so you'd be like, yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and then you guys have been doing cool things like you've been repopping some classics that I feel like with a kind of icon brand like Mongoose, like, it's kind of bringing awareness back to older riders or dads that are like, oh, this is here, I want this. Maybe I'll get my kid a race bike or something.
Yeah. It's funny because the first repop I brought one out to that Frogtown event.
Yeah.
If
you guys don't know Frogtown, it's a vintage BMX race they're doing in NorCal. This kind of, I think this year's going to be pretty big.
I think it is too. But I remember having that out, that red. I had that red one. It was actually mine, but it was the repop, and people were like, "Man, you did a really good job." And it was like, "No, Brian Baldwin did a really good job speccing these out, and he made it look like pro class rims. Drilled out, and it's been a lot of fun.
The one we have to shop, people come in and talk to me about it, and I'm like, hey, the stem isn't, you probably had a tough neck back then, but I'm like, you're getting
you have one of those repops? Where'd you get it from?
This tweaker down the street. I'm like, you could get one of those if you wanted to tweak it how you wanted it when you were a kid. Yeah. I mean, it's fully there. It's chromo. Like you go rip on it.
Yeah. If you can fit it, because they're made to spec from the.
No, I've had people ask me. They're like, "Oh, is this the exact same geometry?" I'm like, "Yeah, stand on it, dude. You've grown. You've grown.
Maybe 19. I don't even know.
They're probably 19-inch top tube because what is it? It's off of 83, 84?
84, I think that one was.
Yeah. I mean, and the bikes kind of went 19 3/4 towards the end of the 80s, unless you were like just a monster that somebody was building you bigger bikes. Yeah. But, those bikes are little.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why the bars were so tall in Chicago,
So you could fit on them.
Yeah, so.
No, but I'm like.
You're in a good place right now.
I really like working for Mongoose, and it is cool because I wear Mongoose shirts, and you hear all the time from the dude down. There was a guy down in the lobby working, and he goes, "Oh, that was Mongoose, my first bike."
I mean, it's kind of a lot of dudes' first bikes. It's been awesome, and the people behind the scenes are like, I just like that they believe in the team and what we're doing, and it's been good. Well, good.
Yeah. Ryan Barrett's here. Ryan Barrett. What else are you going to pull out of your goodie bag, Ryan?
Man.
You got other goodies in there?
Well, there were a couple, DK time, this was your autograph card when you were living in Greenville.
Okay, this is funny, because my autograph card was a tail whip.
And you've told me you only have landed...
Maybe 10 in my life.
Well, at least you got a photo.
And it was one of those things where the bike would spin so slow around, and I'd have to reach my leg out and grab it underneath me. So it either looked really awesome, but the crashes looked really good too. But, yeah.
Now, did you land on the pedals?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's Iron Cross pedals.
Yeah, But that's
a good tail. Is that a Bud Deck photo?
It is. And this is autographed to Ryan, the jackass.
Not Captain Idiot?
No, he's a jackass.
Oh, he's a jackass.
That was to me. This is
yeah.
Well, I thought you were saying to Ryan, and then you were the jackass.
No, I was always the idiot. That's.
What else you got in there, Ryan?
Were you a judge at that? That was Pittsburgh DK Dirt Circuit?
Was that Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
No, I was doing TV stuff for
ESPN.
Yeah, I was doing TV for ESPN. Yep.
We may have to scan a few of these photos so I can send them in with Will so he can post them up with
oh, sure.
With the podcast.
I probably have more, but this is just such quick on the fly.
Yeah, no, maybe we'll just bring these by and we'll just scan them at the shop and send them to Will.
Yeah. You want to do those questions?
Yeah, you want to do? Let me pull up these questions. I mean, I feel. I mean, I haven't done a podcast in a while, so I'm feeling a bit crusty, but everybody sent in some questions. I think people were surprised. They're like, "Oh, you do podcasts." Let's get over here. We'll just run through them.
And that photo he used on there, I'm doing that. It was a
Can Rocket
one-hander
ice pick.
Yeah, and that was on the old Greenville Mini. Did you ever ride that metal one?
Yeah.
But it was so steep that it was perfect for lip tricks. And the deck was gnarly wood, so you could lock into it. Because our pegs were 5 inches long then.
I remember getting 5-inch pegs, and then the first time I did a handrail, I was like way far away from the rail, and I was like, this is not right. Okay, here's first question. It's from Thomas Borman. Do you know him from Australia?
Yeah.
Awesome dude, races, rides freestyle. He would love to know the story behind the race you won at the Christmas Classic that was used in the DK ad. So, people that don't know, was it a DK ad?
It was a DK ad.
Where you raced.
It said Leigh can race too.
And it's like, Leigh's looking squirrely. He's taking out 3 dudes.
They took themselves out.
They did. I will give you that, yeah.
On me. So, They like Budnick saw me race, and I'm the worst. Last out of the gate, chop wood like crazy, and he just like I think it was the third moto, and he told props because they were filming racing.
Yeah.
Film League, we might do something with this.
I liked it when props filmed racing.
Yeah.
It was fun.
And that race was just like so. Last out of the gate, and there was probably 6 of us in there.
Were you on a DK Legacy?
Yeah. And because I was there to do the dirt jump comp.
Yeah.
And so I'm pedaling, and then people were everybody's kind of sketchy because it was novice. I could jump, and I think that would help me get over some stuff. But then I would jump probably in front of somebody, and they would tag my back wheel and flip over. And that happened to a couple people, and then the very last straight, I'm in the lead, but then this dude comes out of nowhere. And like jumps past.
He looked hungry. Oh,
he
looked hungry.
And he cased front wheel, flipped over, and I just remember looking back as I was going over the finish line, and it was just that
I remember seeing that ad the first time I rewound it like 3 times. I was laughing so hard.
It was complete chaos. But what they didn't get, those novices, was I was a novice racer, but I worked well under sketchy stuff. So it just.
I'm gonna have to watch that ad again. I have to dig it up. It's so good.
Dude, so good.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was my last time I raced.
I heard you said you might start racing.
I might.
Racing's fun.
Yeah.
I've been racing. Street Mafia BMX just says bar hop airs are just too much radness. Do you want to? You did really good. I mean, not very many people did bar hop airs, and I've seen there's that video grab of you doing one, and you're like.
I could do them to my butt.
Yeah,
over the thing, and Matt Hoffman called those the Superman bar hops. Because you did them like that far.
There was that one dude from Colorado that would do them over dirt jumps.
Yeah,
where
he'd spread his legs.
Yeah,
and stuff.
He'd go really far.
But I was really psyched because in Matt's book, was it Right in My Life?
Yeah.
He said like he had this little trick glossary, and then he mentioned in there Superman bar hop because me and Leigh Ramsdell were the only ones that did that, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah, you did good bar hops.
I was psyched. I love doing bar hops.
How do you think you got a bar hop?
No. I got both my knees replaced.
I know. I'm just giving you.
I can barely sit down.
Let's see. Dean Dickinson wants to know, what were your favorite bands growing up? And did you used to do the record reviews for Ride?
I did do the record reviews for Ride. That was Losi. He didn't want to do it. So like, you want to do this? You get a bunch of free CDs and you sell them when you're done.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
And then I did them, and it was fun doing bands I didn't like. Those are always fun and easy to do, and then doing my favorite bands growing up.
You were a Hesher when you were younger.
Oh yeah, my dad was into like Ozzy and AC/DC. And
you looked the part.
Oh,
did you have an Iron Maiden patch on something?
No, but Iron Maiden's the whole reason I graduated high school. I'll tell you that real quick story. So Iron Maiden's one of my favorite. So senior year of high school, wasn't doing great, cared about my bike. I was just below passing.
Yeah.
And our very last big test was on the poem "Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner," which happens to be an ACD or Iron Maiden song. And I knew it. And they actually lift part of the actual poem, and it's in the song.
Yeah, where he's talking.
Yes, and I was like, water everywhere.
Yeah.
Never dropped a drink. It's just and they would say, my friend Craig would always be like, when it was time to read part of it, he'd go, he wants to read it, and because I could almost sing it.
Yeah.
And then I got a 97 on my test, aced it, and brought me way up on the average. My teacher came at me. She was her name was Miss Lewis, and she was like, Lee, I know you didn't cheat, but I need to know how. What was it? And I was like, well, it's this band, Iron Maiden, and they have the song, and she wanted to hear it, so I cued the tape for her to that song, and she's like, next day she's like, it's not my type of music, but at least they're not talking about Satan. And in my head, I'm like, well, you haven't heard Number of the Beast, have you? But seriously, Iron Maiden was definitely one of my favorites growing up. I love some metal.
Nice. Let's see. Adam Banton. I don't know. Well, he wanted to ask about the Bloody Booger, which I think we went over.
We did talk about that.
And then, he says, ask you about the scary time when you were in the countryside in Brazil in the back of the car and the dude was driving like a lunatic and you put your helmet on.
Oh, yeah. We're going over there to do an Eastern show.
Yeah.
And this guy, he just got this brand new I don't know, some kind of sports car. He couldn't speak English. The dude, me and Adam are in the back, 2 guys that work for the distributor in the front.
Yeah.
And we could have driven to where we're doing the demo in like 2 hours on this big highway, but he wanted to go this curvy way. And it was like 3.
Yeah.
But the dude's doing 100 plus constantly, like worse. Like I thought I was gonna die. So, yeah. I just put in some earphones, put my helmet on, and just started looking down just doing work. I mean, I just like don't know what else to do. But I was like, we can't even tell them to slow down because they don't understand us. Like,
you're like, I don't speak Portuguese.
No.
All right.
Now follow Portuguese.
Evan Krakow wants to know,
I like that guy.
Can we please get a modernized 87 Decade Pro repop?
It might happen. We'll work on it.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Mongoose Mint.
Yeah. Only if he'll take a photo with it.
All right. I want a Joe Alamo photo.
Yeah, Joe would be good.
He's still so good.
Yeah.
He's still so good.
So you're saying Evan's not?
Evan's good. Evan's very good. They're both good. They're both like child vert prodigies. You know, like Darren's 1976 wants you to tell just one story from the NBL contest days. You got a good story from that? I mean, that's pretty broad.
That's pretty broad. The NBL, I'm just trying to think. Oh, wow. The craziest story from any NBL contest was, do you remember Brandon Trotter?
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
The scariest, the only person doing a backflip fakie at that time was Hoffman.
Yeah.
And Brandon was dead set on doing
the contest was in Florida? Or?
No, this one was in Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, at the Grands.
If you guys want to watch it, go to Mavrocam on YouTube and scroll back. It's the the thumbnail. It's crazy.
So nobody knew how to do them. Matt was the only one doing them, and he was.
There was that dude in England. Remember that video grab of the dude in England doing one?
So, but Brandon, he's like my height, like 5'6".
He was good too, right?
Yeah, he was good vert rider, and he just started cranking across the parking lot. We all knew he was going to try it, and he went almost 6 feet out.
He went really high.
It was like seriously 6 feet out. Tried to flip fakie, and he basically just went straight up like a regular fakie and scorpioned.
He just went up.
He just
got upside down and went straight to his head.
And he went, but then he got up and walked. It was insane.
Go to YouTube, Mavrocam, Mavrco. I started spelling it. I was like, but go to his YouTube. I think it says like crazy. I don't know what it says. Yeah. It's insane. Go watch the video. And subscribe.
But that's like that. I'll never ever forget that. And I was down at the bottom of the vert ramp, and I just saw him crumple.
He gets up. He seemed like he was probably just chilling the rest of the day.
He's from the Pat Miller camp in that area. Like they're Louisville, like
gnarly vert rider.
Yeah.
Does he still ride?
I'm not sure if he does. I know Pat does. But
Pat's still really good. James Shepard wanted to know if you rode for Homeless.
He knows I did.
Yeah.
He misses me.
Doyle wants to know...
Which Doyle?
Chris Doyle.
Okay, I know him.
He wants you to tell him the best Hal Brindley story. First off, I'm going to ask you a Hal Brindley question.
Yeah.
Why the heck did he never ride a seat?
It was just... It broke.
It always drove me nuts.
It broke one time, and I think that, and he just rode, and he figured he could do it.
It just seemed like it didn't seem dangerous.
No. What are you going to hit yourself on? Tire, maybe?
The hole? He was riding a bully, and the bully had that pointy, built-in seat clamp on the one.
It was just something funny to him, and I think people were kind of in your camp, and it just kind of egged it on. One of my favorite Hal Brindley stories is so Steve Bunneck lived with us, and he was an avid jogger at that time.
Okay. And
he would jog for a while and come back, and me and Hal were not. We just wake up kind of late and do our stuff. But so Steve came back. He jogged in the evening. He's like, "Oh, Hal, I saw a dead owl on the side of the road," and Hal's like, "Oh, cool." Next morning, Steve gets up early, and Hal's there too. He goes, "I'm gonna go jogging with you." And so they're jogging, and I guess he's like, "Oh, where's the owl?" He goes, "Oh, right up here." So then Hal pulls out a plastic bag, picks up the owl, and goes back home. And this was in the morning. And then I wake up, I'm like, it was like 10, and I was like, "Are you making chicken soup?" And he goes, no, I'm boiling an owl skull. I'm trying, because he wanted to taxiderm it.
Oh my gosh.
And he was boiling the meat off of the, and I don't know why it really grossed me out. I didn't use the microwave for a while after that. But I was like, it's no different than boiling chicken or something. But
it's dead on the road.
Yeah, but he totally, he took all the guts out of it, preserved the inside. I don't know how you do it. He used to read books and figure shit out. He went to the library and probably got something on taxidermy, made a styrofoam insert for it, and then he, got wire to make the wings go out, because nothing was wrong with it. I don't know why it died, and then it just hung above his bed for a while.
All right.
Yeah.
What, and how, isn't he a nature photographer now or something?
He shoots nature photography, but right now he's in South Africa getting his master's in some bio something with. He just does. Hal's one of my biggest inspirations, because
that's awesome.
He lives life and just he's 50 years old and does.
I just love it when you just hear BMX dudes doing other awesome things.
Yeah, he's still a BMX.
Because you're always like, that's one of our guys.
Yeah,
that's one of our guys.
It is.
And then Doyle said he loved it when you used to come ride trails with them.
Oh, yeah, they used to love it, because they would always repair those lips after I cased all the time. But it was, I loved it. And I remember I was Doyle's first sponsor.
Oh.
Useless Clothes.
Mm-hmm.
He's still.
Did you see him do a bar spin to Fufanu on a back rail, and you're like, he's on?
No,
it was way before that.
Yeah,
was it way before that?
Yeah.
I just remember he had that bio and dig where he had that sequence.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal doing that, and he was so young. I remember being like, what the heck,
Suicide double trucks.
Yeah.
Back then. I mean, it was also the only trails that had a box jump at it.
I remember seeing that.
Many wood features.
There were some wood features.
We kind of went over that one. Wolf Brigade Jim was wondering, how bad you got hurt on Road Fools 2. We kind of went over that one.
But my worst injury, we'll just talk about injuries, was probably that big feeble rail.
Where you did the rail and then did the feeble?
I did the rail, fell down. And this wasn't Road Fools. This was just when I was filming for the Eastern video.
Yeah.
I hit my knee on the stairs, and I broke my kneecap, but I didn't know it. I just I thought I was filling it with fluid, and I was like, oh, let's get this real quick before.
Yeah.
So that was my right kneecap. I did the rail perfect that time, and then I told Stu, I was like, listen, I don't know if we're going to do the ledge or the rail. It kind of depends how I land.
Where I'm going.
Yeah. And I was booking.
You were going fast.
I was going fast. I was like, I'm going kind of towards the ledge, but I was way at too much of an angle.
You almost landed like you were going to sprocket grind it.
And in hindsight, I'm like, I should just try to double tie ride it, because I could have jumped up and landed on it. But then I just went down and just whacked my head real bad on the curb and slept. And you can hear Seamus just screaming.
Seamus is one of my favorite bike riders.
Seamus is my favorite bike rider.
He's so sick. Yeah. He's so sick.
I think I made him cry that day. And then
he would have been really young then, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he was 16, maybe 17. Yeah. But I broke a piece of something off my hip then.
How old were you then?
40.
Okay.
No. I was 30-something. I was late 30s.
Okay.
And I remember going to, 38, because I went to my 20-year high school reunion right after that with the cane. And funny story, my wife's going to hate this story, but so she used to buzz my hair with clippers. And we're sitting in the back, and I'm getting ready to go to my reunion, or not, it's the day before, and she goes to start in the back of my hair, and I just hear her go, whoop. And I went, what? She goes, nothing. And then so she continued to shave my head. Next day, I'm at the reunion, and my friend Craig, his wife's there, and we're talking about the injury, and she's like, oh, did you have brain surgery too? And I was like, wait, no, what? I went like this. She forgot to put the guard on part of it, and she just totally went zip in the back and never told me. And it was awesome. She was like, I can get away with this.
And that's a wife move.
It is.
That's a wife move.
That's why I love her. It's great.
Shout out Katie.
Yep.
Craig Heffley wants to know, what was your absolutely favorite bike that you rode before being hooked up with Mongoose?
It's funny because Craig Heffley, whose wife was the one. He's one of my best friends.
Oh, okay.
He owns a wine shop, Wine Authority, shout out. But
and he rode.
Yeah. He was he was one of my favorite riders to ride with. You know what it is. What am I going to say? It's my favorite bike.
Wilkerson Riot.
Yeah,
that's your favorite.
Wilkerson Riot, that bike is just Whether it's the fact that I thought it was cool, it was just a tough looking bike at the time.
Hey,
you know?
When you took mine out the other day, yeah. I should have filmed. He rode my Wilkerson. I should have filmed him because he pedaled back down the block, and it looked like I gave a kid his first bike. He was smiling so big.
Wow!
Yeah, it's like that in that red one too. Because that red one was my favorite. Like
that's the one you rode in nonstop to San Francisco.
Yes,
yeah,
I had all three. I did a black one, a chrome one, and the red one. But the red one was my favorite.
With the hazard graphics.
Yeah, I got my first full color.
That's the one you tried that flip fakie on.
Yeah, that almost died.
Yeah.
Lucy calls it the triangle flip. It was almost Brandon Trotterish, but I got it around a little more.
You right at the end, you saved yourself.
Yes.
You went pretty high on that one.
That's how they did it.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm not hating.
You know, but it's that works.
So if anybody out there has a Wilkerson Airlines Riot,
yep.
DM me or DM Leigh if you want to sell it at a reasonable price, not some weird Facebook BMX group price.
Yeah.
But
I would love
trade, or if somebody's just sitting on one, it can be beat up. Let's try to get Leigh a Riot to hang in his house.
I'd love it, or put together
and ride. Yeah. I mean,
I'd have a ride on it.
You were there the night I was riding mine at the bowl, weren't you? That one night? Yeah, that was scary. It wasn't scary when I was young, but it was scary.
No, riding those little bikes now is
it's scary.
Yeah.
When Venerable,
That's Aaron Benke, Venerable Bean.
Oh yeah, that's
okay.
Yeah.
He wants to know the last time you did a double decade.
It's been a while, but yeah,
I'm impressed that you did a double decade.
Well, that was my go-to trick. Like I love double decade. I did Baking with Leigh. I did double decade.
Thinks he's Chase Guin over here.
Seriously, man.
Just real quick. The first time I ever did a handrail, it was maybe I went and looked at it recently, and I was like, why did I do that? But
where it's scarier because it's short. Yeah,
short and high. And I was trying double whiplashes. And you remember, double.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I pull this double whiplash, I'm doing that rail. I pulled it, and I went, and I remember I put on my helmet with my Jaffa guard.
Oh, you had a Jaffa?
Yeah. And I had those, remember those Haro, full?
Yeah.
I was suited up. And then did my first, but it was one of those ones you just buy up as high as you can, go clink, and come
just posted up some of my first attempts at handrails the other day.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty.
No,
I first thought when I landed ice pick and I looped out, it was like an 11 stair rail.
Yeah.
And then I sacked myself. I landed Derek Duster. One I get on, and I would have pulled it, and right at the end, I just jump off my bike and obliterate myself. Yeah, so, I mean, learning handrails in the 90s, I don't think it's the same as learning them nowadays.
No, there was no parks, there was no low things to get on. You just kind of
woke up that day, and you're like, I'm toast today.
Yeah.
I'm done. You had the one handrail in mind. Mine went into grass at least.
I always did. I did my a rule of 3.
No, we took that from you guys. It was you and Jimmy. I said if you went up more than 3 times,
you're done.
You don't
just walk away
because the trick starts when you turn around.
Yeah.
I always tell people, I go, a handrail isn't this. I go, the handrail starts when you start cranking at it. I go, you need to be doing the trick right then. You need to be in the full, the blackout, blank out mode.
Oh, yeah. I'm always blacking out when I lift the bars up and I'm bunny hopping. But once I jump on one, no matter how I fall off, I'm good. Just get back on and keep going.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you have, but when you tell kids, you're like, I mean, they don't need it. They have skate parks. They just learn. I mean, they ride down handrails all the time. I mean, look, I sound very old right now, so I'm going to stop. Ruckus Matt wants to know, what's the favorite character you played? You know, with all your dress-ups and Captain Idiot and stuff.
Captain Idiot was kind of like the OG.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun with that Winkleman interview when I did the Eugene guy.
Oh, yeah.
Just like it was
the talk show host.
But no, Eugene was a band guy.
That's right. Yeah.
But actually, the talk show host was good too, and that was all Colin's idea. Colin's like, props want to do an interview with him, and he's like, I want to do something different. Let's do a talk show, and that was such a fun time.
On the same topic, I don't know if real quick, how much money did you make off of Dave Mirra video game?
$2,000.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Characters like
once.
Yeah, and a free PlayStation.
But at least you can say your video game character.
Yeah. In the I was in 1 and 2, and I think it was the same for both of those. But then Dave's.
Do you wish you were in BMX XXX?
Nobody does. But then Dave's agent called me up too and was like, "Do you want to be in this other game?" It was a Gravity Games one.
Yeah.
So ironic, so I was never in Gravity Games.
Yeah.
So I remember me and DMC and a few other guys were in it. But that one was cool because they wanted every rider to wear the suit.
Yeah.
And put the balls on and stuff. And I remember I did try to tail whip. Ate shit, and all the balls flew off, and the guy was like, "Ooh, let me animate this real quick." It was real stick figure, but it looked like I did a tail and then blew up. Like you see it looked like my arms were falling off. And that one they paid more. That was it's funny because I think that was like $5,000, and then they said if it sells over 100,000, you get this crazy royalties. But
oh wow,
that game sucked.
Oh shit!
And they never even sent me one. So, but
if somebody has a Gravity Games video game, get it to Leigh.
Nah, I'm good. I the Dave Mirra ones. That's the fact that Dave asked and I was in both of them. That's just one of those things. Like my daughter can play a version of me on. Like the other day, Nyquist's kids were playing my character. And
that's funny.
Yeah.
Bruce Chrisman.
I know him.
Mm-hmm. He wants to know, and we already talked about it. If you remember doing the 2-Hip show in Salem around '95 with Siggety and Sean Peters, he goes, "Just so you know, I was there watching, wearing my Hoffman Flaming HT."
That's why we didn't talk to him. If he had 2-Hip shirt on, we would have gone up and said, "Hey, what's up there, guy?"
Dave Tom and the 30 crew even showed up and were ripping the box jump.
Oh yeah, I remember Dave Tom.
Dave did
Dave was also one of those ones he's trying to take my job.
I remember Dave showed up. He was whipping it. I think he no-foot. Did he no-foot flip the box that day?
I think he did.
He did. I think he did one hand bar spin to one hand no foot. He ripped that box jump that day.
He did. I do. Yeah.
We already went over how much you made from Jenko.
800 big ones
a month.
Yeah.
And all the cardboard insole shoes you want.
And I made them some of regular jeans, and then the only shirts that would fit me that were normal were youth extra large. And that was like a normal T-shirt. And
Aaron Gates wants to know about you trying the giant handrail Nelson.
So Nelson, there was this big handrail that everybody looks at, and I was there with Siggety. Put on my full face helmet. It was 30 maybe.
I know the rail. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
And I tried it a couple times, but I'm kind of glad I kept falling off.
It's one of those ones where if you got to the bottom, you might just.
You'd be going so
like that
fast.
One dude that rode for Colt. Remember that one that he did down towards the beach?
Yes. But I would have been going so fast. It was
like he bent. Yeah. Didn't he bend his bars when he hit and stuff? Like it was crazy.
He probably bent everything.
Yeah. I think that's about it. Yeah. We kind of went over everything.
I liked it. This was fun.
Yeah, I'm super psyched we did it.
Yeah.
I haven't done one for a while.
I'm glad
You're
re-break your virginity.
Yeah. My oath has been broken.
Yeah.
Don't break the oath. Yeah. I guess that's it. We're gonna go to a contest tomorrow here. Yeah, hang out.
Can't wait. We'll see it.
Ride some bikes and
watch Casey Badger ride the Masterclass, which sounds so weird to even say.
Him and Marty McFarland going head to head.
Yeah.
Poor Marty.
Who you got? Who's your money on?
If the park was a little different and Marty really dug into his bag of tricks, I mean, Marty is in his 50s, but he's got a deep bag of tricks. He's got more tricks than Casey, but Casey's probably got him at Newburgh,
He looked pretty dialed today, Casey did.
Yeah, I mean, Marty, if there was a little smaller quarter where he could roast, he could probably hit it. He could probably do a no-foot can one hand still out of a quarter if he wanted to.
That's a good trick.
So, yeah. Sweet. All right, well, thank you, Leigh.
By the way, on the way here, Shad, what happened to you?
I locked my keys in my car.
Yeah, but he got them out. So, anyway, we're there.
All right, thanks, everybody.